Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? We have day one of the APRocky trial. And before we get too far with this, we're going to catch up on some things and a little housekeeping. But real quick, good morning or afternoon, everybody. My name's Sean, also known as Potentially Criminal. I'm a defense attorney in the Cleveland, Ohio area. And today we're catching a trial that I kind of remember hearing about. And I thought it'd be very cool to cover. But I didn't realize it was like happening till Friday when it started. And that's a trial for APRocky. He goes by APRocky, and it's got the dollar sign in the middle there. But yes, APRocky is a rapper. He's a rapper. His name's Rakim Mayers, and he is from New York City. He also has other people in his group called the ASAP Mob. Bunch of guys. They were doing their thing. And one of the guys he had a problem was ASAP Relli. His name's Terell Ephron. And the way this all kind of shook out, you guys, they're, according to, basically November 2021, so right after Thanksgiving, they have a fight. The next day, we need to like forgive and forget. We need to bury our grievances. And there's only a couple seconds of video that don't really tell us anything. Oh, hey, sick man, hope you're feeling better. Yes, thank you. I'm doing good. So in response to all of this, though, Rocky and Relli, get down together, and they end up fighting again. Now, this is where things get a little weird. You can't tell who's on video fighting, but Relli claims that Rocky pulled out a gun and put in some work and shot at him. Now, he grazed his hand, and that was it, in a parking garage. Rocky is actually going to argue, not even that it wasn't me, I wasn't there, but I had a blank firing gun from a movie. I had for a music video. I had a Hollywood gun, which kind of like you're a rapper and you're running around with a fucking blank firing pistol, bruh. So that's kind of where we are with this. Now, Rocky is facing up to 25 years in prison for the assault using a firearm, if that's proven. But here's the thing that happened. The prosecution offered him to plea out to misdemeanors and face up to 180 days in jail. That's not what a strong case is. Like, you don't have a strong case when you're doing that. And I think that says a lot about what we're looking at here. That is this really even that big of a case? Is this really that good? Yeah, there's a lot to this case where you're like, there's probably not a little lot here. So, Snake Plissken saying, why didn't he take it? There are times, and I fully believe this. The prosecution, that's their, they give as little of a thing as they can give. When you're a prosecutor, you have to be careful because that could tell the other side you're fucking weak and that you don't have a case. So that's smelling blood in the water. And I don't blame Rocky for smelling blood in the water. There's going to be a lot of issues with this. We're going to learn about a lot of things, you guys. We're going to learn that you're going to learn some of the things that Relli did in response to all of this, how evidence was handled. There's going to be a lot of things you're going to be like, this seems real fucking sketch. So we're going to get to all of that. So, also, real quick, what kind of stupid fucking name is ASAP? Well, that means always strive and prosper. That's what they were. That's what they're known as. So that's, if you guys were wondering, like I do, and I think he's got a couple of decent songs. Actually, I've listened to it. I've known him for a while. He's got some good songs that I like. Not everything. He's got a couple of I'm kind of like, yep, good, but not everything. Let's see here. What happened? I wasn't feeling good. I don't know. Something happened. I just didn't feel right. So we kind of phoned it in yesterday. So my apologies for that. But yeah, just wasn't feeling like $1 million. But yeah, anyways, always strive and prosper. So, with juries today, who would risk it? Well, these guys are risking it. They're letting it roll. Now, you guys are wondering about my Twitter account. So, yes, LawTube Sean got nuked. And I remember during the show one night, I think it was on Thursday, maybe somebody said, "Oh, I reported that because I thought it was a fake." Well, Twitter acted. And now because I have an inauthentic account. I don't know how the fuck I prove who I am as I am or what I did that was inauthentic because they don't tell you. So I'm just like, please, sir, help me. I really am me. I am a live boy. I'm a real boy. I don't know what's going to happen. We'll find out. But for right now, chat, we're using potentially criminal. If you type that in, you should be able to find me. Use that for now. That's the lifeboat. And I'll let you know when the other one's back up if it ever goes back up. Fuck, it sucks. I have all kinds of DMs of people trying to reach me in there. It's just a mess. Just a fucking mess, man. Oh. So. And this was announced ahead of time, but I also mentioned it like on Friday. We're going to do APRocky. We were going to do it on Sunday. So it's not that random. Not that random. So. I thought APRocky was the concert that crushed the people. No. And also, guys, this will be very interesting because potentially we could see Rihanna coming in because he is Rihanna's baby daddy. He's the one who is involved with Rihanna, and yeah. So it'll be kind of interesting. It'll be very interesting at this point. Because he's got 2 kids with, I think he's got 2 kids with Rihanna. But yeah, he's the one taking care of business there. So we actually might see some interesting stuff go on. Rakim Mayers, APRocky himself, he's 36. So yeah, these aren't like 20-year-old rappers. He isn't like a 20-year-old rapper. So it'll be interesting. 3 kids now, yeah, maybe. Anyway, ASAP Foamy. Anyway, she might very well show up at trial, but also she might have to testify. We don't know yet. We don't know where this is all going to go. But the ultimate issue is that this is a shakedown by Relli because he wanted money and he didn't do as well as Rocky had done. So, yeah. That's kind of there. Rowan saying, have you ever done a Bradley model? No, I have not. And then Jim says, I was trying to DM you with a great business opportunity for airdropping illegals in the Colombia Pinochet style. Well, I'm sorry. You guys are sending me DMs right now. They're going unread. So, and also I forget who it was that got me the Twitter subscription. I'm sorry. They kind of fucked me on that right now. So hopefully we come back. We can get it back. We'll see. We'll see. But that's really it, guys. That's really it. Sunshine is saying, oh, they're making it up like the truly humble under God. No. Always strive and prosper is what they've always been known as. And they've been around since like 2006. Rocky didn't join right away, but he's been part of the mob for a while. He's been for a long fucking time. But no, it's something they've done forever. They've done forever. So, but I just want to let you guys understand that's kind of where the Twitter thing is, but also the Rocky thing. But when we start this off, this is going to start off day one. There's a massive issue with discovery that the court's going to address. And I think the court does a very interesting way of addressing it. So where they take things out. But remember, Rocky's going to claim it was a fake gun. He's not going to say, I wasn't there. I didn't do any of this. It was a fake gun. And if you guys want to see the incident itself, there's a little bit of it you could see. And it's interesting here. And extra's probably going to shit their pants if I show this here. But this is the thing. Okay, guys. So here we go.
Rely heavily on the video.
So this is the video itself, and we're gonna play it in slow motion a little bit so you guys can see kind of what they're arguing here. So this is the parking garage camera. Doesn't cover everything, but here you go. So it's 2 guys fighting. Somebody's holding a gun.
Gun was ever recovered, and
no gun's ever been recovered. Nothing's been there. They don't know it. They don't have a gun that's been recovered. That's the actual incident that we know about. So this is really it right here. It's this couple seconds of footage showing there was a fight. And the main witness is going to be Relli. So that's going to be the main witness for the state. That's their star witness at this point. Did you see that? They just kissed for a second. Yes, the judges asked when Rihanna's going to show up because they need to know for security reasons. Yes. Yes, that's very true. We're going to get to all that, but yes, this is it. Guys, this is an interesting case. Like, I thought this was cool because more importantly, it's not a murder, but like there's a lot of fucking time on the line for this guy. And, you know, we don't do enough of non-murder trials. And I want to do those every chance we can because this is the real world. Like, this is how stuff goes most of the time. Like, not everybody's on a murder trial, but this one's pretty serious. So here we go. Well, Caleb says the only thing I know about Rocky is he doesn't hire a nanny because he didn't have kids for someone else to raise him. Based. Tim the Tool says ASAP Baldo. Eric Rodriguez says free my nibba. He didn't do nothing. Assholes react with 10 subs. It's coming in to say, let's go, Grays. Your days are numbered. Thank you, ass. Thank you, Whiskey and Three Beers. Guys, you see them. They're on tonight. Every Sunday night at 9. They're talking about their things, chopping it up, as the kids say. So we'll be done in time for you to watch them tonight over at Assholes React. Thank you, guys. And also Assholes React saying, praying the Grays away. Laughing at the Grays tonight at 9 p.m. Lol. Do you hear that, Grays? You're an object to be mocked and derided. So here we go, chat. Day 1 of the APRocky trial. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, sorry.
If you're
So this is going to start off, before we get too far, this is going to start off, there's already a major evidence issue. The state has determined that, hey, we had a ballistics report that indicated the shell. And here's another thing you guys need to understand. When the police showed up, like Relli went to the police and said, hey, Rocky shot at me. And look, here's a bag of shell casings. Yes, the victim scooped up all the cases and went to the cops and collected the evidence. Big issue there. Shocker. So he shows up with all that. From here, we now have concerns. You know, and the police do some ballistics testing on the shell casings, and they determined it actually came from an operable firearm that was never disclosed to the defense. And the defense just learned about it pre-trial, like before trial starts, which is a big, big problem. Because how do you make that fair for everybody? And they're going to argue about this, and the judge does a pretty good job of addressing it. Here you go. Yes, he declined a 6-month offer, and he's facing 24 years. Yep. Here we go, chat.
back in August of 2012. He went back to all of the
I apologize because at times the audio sucks, but this is as good as it gets.
Back to all the reports to make sure that he had everything he did. It turns out that in January 2024, there was a comparison test, and I want to be clear what we're talking about. There were 2 expended cases that were found at the crime scene by the victim of the case.
What was the date? What was the date that the expended
Remember, guys, the victim found the casings.
casings were turned into the police?
The date of the incident.
It would have been 2 days later when he reported it to the police.
In other words, back at the time, this happened in 2021.
All right, so the incident occurred on November 6th, so it would have been around November 8th?
Yeah.
All right.
So the first event, there's work done on the casing, unbeknownst to co-counsel, myself, obviously I was not on the case. They ended up doing a further examination of the casing. That examination revealed that in fact, the 2 casings are consistent with having been fired, the 9mm casings, from certain 9mm handguns. there are some markings on the casings that are somewhat unique. And they can basically track them down to a much smaller subset of firearms that could have caused the marks on the casings. Included in that is Glock 43. So, hold on, okay.
Did the report say that the casings could only have been fired from a Glock 43, or could a Glock 43 be among the type of firearms that the expended casings could come from?
Let me read the exact conclusion. Items 1A and 1B.
Those are the casings.
Those are the casings. Each exhibits characteristics typical of aftermarket slides or a series of subcompact pistol frames, including but not limited to polymer model PF9SS, Glock store model SS.
Wait, slow down because the court reporter needs to take it.
Sure. Polymer 80 model PF9SS, Glock store model SSA, and Glock model 43 and 43X. We have been given information that
you can see, chat, and here they're talking about Glock 43s, but also a polymer P80. So a P80. So some ghost guns, so spooky. Yes, we're getting ghost guns thrown into the mix here too, chat. The polymer firearm, the polymer 80s, and then the Glock store. One of the more preeminent Glock retailers in America, but they're also in California. They're huge.
Oftentimes, and frequently when you're looking at casings, you're not able to get a whole lot of information. But it turns out that the markings on these casings are a bit more unique, and they are not only consistent, but the examiner will testify that the markings he has seen very rarely, and that where he has seen them, where they've been reported, are with a Glock 43 pistol.
What's the name of the examiner who did this ballistic comparison?
The examiner's first name is going to be FIDAL, last name BIRA. IMAH. So the way this came about was we were looking at a different issue. The detectives yesterday afternoon sent an email to my co-counsel basically saying, hey, take a look at that report, this report we're talking about, which is in the attachment.
Detective
Flores?
Flores.
From every side?
Yes. Go ahead.
So when this was received, my co-counsel looks and says, I've never seen this report before. So he goes back in discovery, looks at emails. We don't have a report. So we instantly contact the defense, send them out the report. I want to be clear. The report is inculpatory, not exculpatory. So obviously, not only do we have no motivation to have not turned over this report, RHG has no motivation either. What's very clear is that they believe they had turned it over, and they did it.
What time did Detective Flores bring this to either your attention or Mr. Fugoni's?
Yesterday afternoon, you want the exact time?
Approximately.
It was yesterday afternoon. We were in court. We went back to the office after court yesterday, and that's where we went back and looked to see, do we have this discovery?
So something after 4:30 p.m.?
The email is timestamped 3/18, but I got it when we, so it was essentially received but not gone through yet until I could get back over to my desk.
You conveyed this to the defense when?
We sent it to them at 5:21.
So about 40 minutes later, they're done?
Because the first thing we had to do was, we had to go back and see, or have we already turned this over? So we not only emailed it, we called them. We explained the situation. The response at the time that we gave it to them initially was, well, this is the same thing that you have accused us with respect to the witness and the court's finding that they violated the court's discovery order. And we responded, no, this is completely different. You had interviews starting last August.
I don't want to get into who said what. I just want to know the sequence of events.
So at this point in time, we had a discussion. We sent an email at that point to counsel, and we included the court. There was an email sent late last night at some point by Mr. Tacopina. I did not see it until somewhere around 2 in the morning. In that email, Mr. Tacopina cited the Hughes case. There were no facts in the Hughes case. I went in the middle of the night, I got the case, I read
I
it.
don't want to know about it. This would be appropriate if you want to argue your position. I just wanted to know the sequence of events.
Right, I'm not gonna go any further other than to tell the court. I read the case, I then sent an email at roughly 3 or 4 in the morning. I sent it to counsel and I sent it to the court.
All right, just one last factor on it, which is, I knew from past experience with firearm analysis that there would be a lab file or bench notes associated with the analysis. So I tried to immediately contact the lab to expedite and see if they could send that to me immediately, but they were not open at the time that I called. So we had to call this morning at around 6, and they scanned it and sent it over, and I sent that to the defense as soon as I got it.
How many pages is this report?
The report is one
The
page.
report itself is
It's
one page.
One page. How many pages are there total of all the police reports, all of the discovery list? How many pages?
Regarding this one,
Regarding the total number of,
regarding this one.
No, I was,
no, the total number of pages involving this case and this investigation.
I would estimate 100 or over 100 pages. I mean, to be totally candid with the court, I haven't counted them, but that's just ballparking the various reports, and things that we received.
All right, I understand now the sequence of events, right? Who wants to speak to the defense?
I think, I'll start, maybe Mr. Siegel, if I leave something out, we tackle this together. I mean, we spent literally the night before, about 5 hours.
Okay. Speak slowly, the court reporter needs to get everything down, and I want everybody to know exactly what you have to say. Go ahead.
So, and I'll just stick with sort of the chronological order here. I'm not going to argue case law or anything like that, but aside from the fact that we lost 4 to 5 hours the night before opening dealing with this, we this morning, after we get an expert report last night that was in the possession of the lead case detective in this case, not some random police officer. Detective Flores is the case detective in this case. I have to believe he understood the importance of that report. He testified at preliminary hearing. After we get that report that says, in conclusion, that the subcompact pistol frames, including but not limited to, which means absolutely nothing. So it could be a universe that we don't even understand of other pistols, and then goes on to list 3 of them here. This morning.
So guys, what the issue here is, the state's already trying to come forward and say, look, this helps our case a ton. This clearly was an accident, because now we could say that it wasn't a fake gun. We could say for certainty, our examiner could say, I don't know which real gun it is, but it was a real gun. They want that in because it's inculpatory, not exculpatory. And they're arguing, Judge, it was clearly an innocent mistake. We want it in and we have a reason to have it in. So that is what the state is arguing. Now the defense is going forward, and obviously they're gonna argue this is unfair and prejudicial, because ultimately, remember, they don't want this in at all, because they want to be able to stick with, well, it was a fake gun. Well, if they can introduce evidence it was a real gun, actually, possibly, well, it hurts them. So, excuse me, they have a reason to object to this, and I think they have a pretty good reason for it. So anyways, let's hear what they're going to say.
We got another 28 pages of backup data on this. Backup lab, I guess, report that normally comes with the conclusion report. We got this morning. And I find it hard to believe that the lead detective in this case didn't bring it to anyone's attention from the district attorney's office until after the jury was impaneled the night before opening statements. I mean, something that they now are saying is such a crucial piece of evidence. We have an issue now with jury, obviously, the jury panel. It may affect, quite frankly, whether we would have kept or not kept a few jurors, one in particular. And we assured him yesterday he'd have a fair trial. You're going to have a fair trial. We've made issues regarding the veneer. You know that. We're not going to rehash that. We're here. We're ready to vote today. I don't even know how we're supposed to do this. This should be suppressed without question, because it changes the complexity of the case. At the very least, we have to quash this panel and start again, or strike jurors, reselect. I mean, I think even the district attorney said, okay, we'll continue this is appropriate. We beat the jury. We're ready to go. This is something that, you know, to render fair and effective representation here, as we all assured Mr. Mayor we would have, in the midst of the trial that's already underway, we would need to locate and retain our own expert to conduct a scientific analysis. Their report was 28 pages. It took them, according to them, it took them 1 week to do this. 1 week. And that's their own lab, with their own on-staff experts. And it took them a week. How long is it going to take us? We have to go find somebody first. Hope he's available. The trial will be over. We also have to make arrangements for the physical examination of the casings, scientific testing. I mean, if you look at their report, I mean, they cite like some of the basis for their findings is the internet. They went on and cited all these websites and forums. I mean, there's so much work to be done here to even understand this conclusion. I mean, all right, so what are you thinking? What am I seeking? What are you asking for? I'm asking, well, and our letters laid it out. I don't need to rehash it, but our letters laid out pretty clearly what we're asking for. There's no way to see in this case if this is admitted. We have to either break this whole pattern. We need to continue this. We have to start again. What I'm asking for is you include this. This is after the jurors panel. This is a major piece of evidence that will require us to do a lot of expert work that took them, their own department. That's the only thing I'm requesting. I'm sure that Your Honor, I can't vote it if this is coming in, because I have to deal with the address. I don't even understand it. And we got ongoing report, 28 pages of backup data. So that's what I'm requesting. I'm requesting to be included. It's get the jury's panel here. You know, as Sealis pointed out, there's also a balancing argument under 352. You know, which I think is also something that's relevant here, including not limited to. But you know, we have this whole. I don't even know what to say here. I really don't. I want to make sure we get a fair trial. He's here, we're ready to go. We all sure we get a fair trial. And this is, I've never seen anything like this. I'm not going to talk about the other witnesses, the late grade disclosures, or the witness we got the name of for the first time last night. I'm not whining about that. I know that's what they want to keep doing. We both have had issues with that. That's fine. I will not make an issue of it anymore. You've already moved on that. Period. End of story. This is now a new one. You know, I don't want to get into, I told you so. Many people said to me this morning, I told you so. That this was going to happen. And I'm trying to keep my composure. I don't know if I've ever been this upset in a court in my whole career, both as a prosecutor and as a defense attorney. I gotta be honest with you. It's not right. It's not fair to him.
Hold on. Mr. Siegel, do you want to? The only thing I wanted to say, I don't want you to repeat what Mr. Tackett said. Do you want to add something new? No, but you're welcome to it. I want to add something new. So I dovetail what he said with respect to the 352 arguments, and that is the report says that the characteristics included are not limited to certain firearms. That means the universe of firearms in this case, based on the face of that report, is extensively broad. So given that, Your Honor, I think even just the probative value of this is substantially outweighed by the danger of undue prejudice, separate and apart from the late disclosure. So it should be excluded on 352. But that's secondary to the fact that it's just incredibly late in this case for all the reasons Mr. said. So I'm just adding an additional factor. What I'm hearing from you then, that it seems like you're talking out both sides of your mouth with the defenses. Like it's irrelevant. However, it's so prejudicial that it shouldn't be allowed. It's so
allowed to make, you know, that's the problem though. You can make inconsistent and alternative arguments. The problem is when you're making it right that second is an issue. It is very prejudicial. I'm sure this may have changed your trial strategy if they could have had an expert say, yeah, this is a good thing, and now you're fucked. So that could be a problem. This could be a problem for Rocky. We don't know. We don't know yet.
Inculpatory, that it shouldn't be allowed in.
No, I don't think anyone said it's so inculpatory. We don't understand. Saying it's inculpatory is not accurate. I can say it's inculpatory, he can say it. What he said was it's a balancing test because it says including but not limited to. All that simply means is not that it's not inculpatory. Not that we just don't understand what this means. Not limited to means there's a universal gun that has to be tested out. I don't know what not limited to means. So how many pistols does not limited to include? How many firearms does not limited to include? That's what it means.
Okay, who wants to speak to the people?
I want to take things one step at a time. Council brought up and made comparison to what's happened thus far.
Listen, Alex, could you please go out and tell the jurors that we're dealing with some logistical matters, and just please be patient, and we're going to come to the next response. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
One, as the court is aware, there is no logical reason why either Robert Holliday's division or the DA's office would in any way not turn this over. It's very clear that this evidence only helps our case. So again, as the court pointed out, on the one hand, Mr. Tapia says, the client cannot get a fair trial. This is so apparently damaging. Yet on the other hand, he says, hey, it doesn't really matter because it includes so many other guns that it should be kept out as being irrelevant. But what's very clear is, and I didn't appreciate the comment, when Mr. Tapia suggests that he can't believe that the DA's office did not know about this in advance. When I spoke to him on the phone last night, that is not what I heard. What I heard was, say, listen, this is a problem for us. We understand, I'm going to quote Mr. Siegel, there's no reason why you would not turn this over if you had it, which is correct, and the record would support it. Comparing this, counsel is now discussing and saying how they are being victimized by late discovery. The only late discovery in this case is the court's aware. The court ordered that the discovery be turned over on 2 witnesses. It should have been turned over before the court ordered it.
I don't want to deal with something that we've already dealt with. Oh, I understand about the 2 defense witnesses. We've covered that. Just deal with the present issue.
So what counsel did is he cited last night, he sent to the court a case called Hughes, 2020 case, 50 cal at 5th at 257. He included no facts about that case. At 2 in the morning, I went and I read the case, and I then sent an email. That case, so the record is clear, involved a situation where there was a Watson murder and where the defendant was being tried on a theory that his alcohol intoxication had caused the accident. Investigation had been done by the MATE team, and they had determined that, in fact, it was speed and not alcohol. This was a very huge problem for the prosecution because that was the theory of their case. Apparently, the head of the MATE team started redoing a separate investigation, which the evidence suggests the prosecutor was well aware of. At the very least, and as the Court of Appeals said, the prosecutor was given information that, in fact, the MATE lead detective now had a new opinion, contradicting the prior opinion, that, in fact, in actuality, it was caused by alcohol and not by speed. Instead of turning this over to the defense, the prosecutor literally had the witness on the stand in front of the jury. He then pauses, looks over at the defense and says, hey, by the way, here's the diagrams and here's the information that he's going to be testifying to. Defense is obviously horrified because it's the entire case. The defense asked for a mistrial. They asked for a continuance. They were both overruled. The Court of Appeals said, hey, listen, obviously the suppression of evidence, as the court is aware, and under statute, is the last option a court can utilize, only after every other option has been determined to be not harsh enough or not accurate enough in addressing and solving the situation. The Court of Appeals said, hey, listen, Judge, you had a chance to do less remedy. You didn't do it. The jury ended up convicting, and the case was reversed. To compare that case to the facts of this case, it is distinguishable for the following. Number one, that evidence was not just inculpatory, it was the entire case. Number two, the prosecutor, for a tactical advantage, which the Court of Appeal basically said in a footnote, that although the original trial judge had found no prosecutorial misconduct, that in essence the record didn't support it, meaning that there was misconduct that the prosecutor did. The prosecutor decided, for a tactical advantage, that he was not going to turn it over. He then did it while the witness was on the stand. He then opposed any continuance or mistrial. Here's what we have. we have evidence which is inculpatory. It's inculpatory because the defendant is found at his location, at his house. There is a 9mm magazine for a Glock 43, and there's no Glock 43 to go with it. So it's just a magazine. We already knew that the defendant had the Glock 43 magazine, and we knew that these were 9mm casings. The difference now is that there's going to be evidence that suggests that a Glock 43 is more likely to have put the marks on the expended casings than many other firearms. So the idea that this would be excluded under 352 is patently absurd. The idea that Hughes is in any way authority for what they're asking is also absurd. We talked to the lab this morning. First, what we are proposing is that we will not mention this evidence, in this case, in opening. We will wait and see how the case develops. As the court is aware, and the court is aware of this from the discovery of the witnesses that we got the day before we started trial. The defense is now claiming not only that it was a starter pistol, but they are claiming that the 9mm magazine, which was found at the defendant's residence, actually belonged to the defendant's manager, and that he is going to testify. So let's look at how this plays out. If the defense ends up being that, in fact, this 9mm magazine belongs to the manager, that in fact, what was used at the scene was a starter pistol / prop gun, then although we don't believe that's credible evidence, that is where they're going. So here's what we're asking. One, there's no late discovery instruction because, as the court is aware, and maybe counsel is not, to have a late discovery instruction, the court has to find that we had the information and didn't turn it over. There's no reason why we wouldn't turn it over, and as soon as we had it, we turned it over. And as the court's aware, I've been trying cases in front of His Honor for going on 30 years. As soon as we found this evidence, we contacted the court, we contacted counsel. Number two, the lab has told us that basically what they did in this case, to have someone else examine it is a very quick examination. And the amount of time that it should take for someone to examine it and end up being able to assess whether or not LAPD was accurate in what they found is ranging from a few hours to maybe a day. This is what we would propose. We propose that at this point in time, we will not mention this in opening statement. We will see how the case develops. We will, if we believe that this is evidence that is going to be important, we will ask to admit that evidence later on in the trial. In the meantime, we will make arrangements for counsel and they can hire you.
Now, it's very interesting that they're arguing, oh, it's so simple to take a look and determine it. Now, we're getting into the, guys, what does that mean we're looking at? We're looking at tool mark identification. Remember, it's the idea that when the firearm extracts a cartridge, that the extractor and all the ejector and every other part of that gun's leaving tool mark identification. Now, there's going to be times where it is true, but also if it's a Glock, well, Glocks are made on machine tooling. How many Glocks do they make every year? A fucking gajillion. How many Glock 43s have been made? A ton. So, they are making a fairly valid argument. Like, look, we just found it. We're sorry. This is important. But now they're saying they're willing to give them time. We're not going to mention it during opening. We'll see how the case plays out, but we'll give you time to figure out what you can figure out. Now, remember, Rocky's got money, so it's not like this is some public defender. So some of the arguments being like, well, you guys could afford to do this, which I don't think is fair in that regard. He shouldn't be like, well, now you have to spend more of your own money to defend your own ass because we screwed up. This should be a state's problem here. And we're going to see how the judge handles that.
Qualified firearms expert. I want to distinguish between Hughes and this case. Hughes was an extremely complicated accident reconstruction involving a vehicle where multiple individuals died. It was very time consuming. It's an extremely complex investigation. This is very minor and simple ballistics interpretation. So we will make it available. We already have sent our investigators to recover the evidence. I don't know if they already have it. We believe they already have the evidence. They have it with them, and we will get it to the defense. This is related to the other issues. So I just want to make sure that this is clear. counsel seems to be under the impression that the court has now changed its ruling and that we are not allowed in our opening statement to address the idea, which the court previously ruled we could, that we did not find out about this offense until the 20th. The court had said previously, on the record, yes, Mr. Lewin, you guys can address that issue in opening. I will decide whether I'm going to issue a discovery instruction later. Counsel believes you've now said we can't do that.
I did say that.
Yesterday, yeah.
I did. I had said yesterday that the purpose for an opening statement is to give the jury an idea of what the evidence, what you believe the evidence will show. Talking about late discovery, that's argument. So as far as your opening statement, I don't want you to mention anything about you just found out about a starter pistol. That is not part of what the evidence will disclose. I talked about that yesterday.
So you're but I'm correct. The court's original ruling was.
Yeah, that is what I said. Originally, I said, yes, you can bring it up.
Okay.
But then after thinking about it, that's not part of an opening statement. So I don't want you touching.
Okay.
Go on with the present issue about the ballistic.
So where we sit right now is that counsel is arguing two inconsistent positions. They're arguing that this evidence is so damaging that we have to start over. Now, that's not in a vacuum. It's very clear that the defense is not happy with this jury. They've made it clear.
Hold on.
No, don't interrupt.
Okay.
He didn't interrupt you, don't interrupt him.
It is very clear by the comments the defense has made in court, where they have repeatedly said that their client is not getting a fair trial because of what they believe is the composition of the jury, the fact that they have filed a writ, the fact that they have continued to bring this up, leads to the inescapable conclusion that what they are looking for is a way to start over. I believe, Your Honor, that what we have proposed is more than fair, because in the end, Your Honor, they're arguing.
Now, chat, when it comes down to the jury has been selected. It's 12 people, 5 men, 7 women. None of them are black. And that was one of the issues that was raised by Rocky and his attorneys, is that none of these people are black. And that's a Batson challenge, that why don't we have black folk on the jury? Now, it does sound like there's a very diverse group of people on there, but yeah, they're arguing, wait, nobody looks like him is on the jury. So that's the issue that the defense has had with the jury. So it's 12 people, 5 men, 7 women.
Both ways. As the court mentioned before, I ever pointed out, they're arguing, if you let this in, Judge, my client can't get a fair trial. Oh, by the way, what's the value of this anyway? What does it matter? Again, my position would be the second argument is inaccurate. It is evidence that's helpful to our case. It doesn't prove the case by itself, but it is definitely helpful. It is not irrelevant. It's not preemptive too.
All right, you don't have to go on.
Okay.
I believe I have enough information to make a decision.
All right, you heard, please.
No, you can't.
I can respond to what he just said about the jury.
It doesn't matter about what he said about the jury. That has no, stop it. That has no bearing on any decision I'm going to make.
There's a record though. There was a record.
I don't believe that you are unhappy with the jury. Mr. Lewin might say you're unhappy with the jury, but that's not, I don't believe you are. If you were, you wouldn't have accepted the jury. I believe that both sides are satisfied that with this jury and that both sides will get a fair trial. You don't need to respond to it because it doesn't matter whether he does or does not think you're happy with the jury. I believe that you are satisfied with the jury. All right, here's the way I want to deal with the latest, recently finding out about this ballistic report. Everybody at the table, all counsel, to me, has great credibility. I accept what all of you say. I don't believe that there's been any nefarious conduct by anybody. If this late report involved, all of a sudden that it was disclosed that a witness, an additional witness positively identified Mr. Mayers as the shooter, that would be very critical and crucial. If a witness came forward and said, yeah, Mr. Mayers confessed to me that he shot ASAP Relli, that would be very critical and crucial. If a firearm, if the 9mm was recovered, that could be ballistically compared to the casings, and that just became discoverable or became disclosed, I think that would be critical. But that is not what happened here. What I'm seeing here is that the casings that were recovered were examined, and the opinion is they could have been fired from a Glock 43 or any other number of types of 9mm.
Now here's a problem, chat. I'd argue it's very critical because the defense is like, literally our entire argument will go up in flames because our defense is hinged upon whether or not this evidence exists. I think that's a problem. I think that's a problem. Because, okay, well, these could have come from a, I mean, there's a chain of custody and all of that. But it's critical because the defense is making an argument that it wasn't a real gun, and they're showing it is a real gun, and it's basically destroying their arguments. So that's why I think there's an issue here. But when we're talking about blanks, just so you guys are aware, there are a couple different things you need to look at here. So when with the blank casings, I'm trying to find an picture of an expended blanks. We probably do need to cover this real quick. There is so actually here we'll just show it. We'll show it. So we have these two separate things here. We have two separate things we're looking at. So why is that image not in a tab? There we go. There we go. Okay, fixed. All right, chat. So these are normal shell casings, what you would think of. Things that make sense, you normally see these. On a blank, talks before chat, with the little crimped ends, when those are open, when the blank is done, those poof out. And you have all these little jagged ends and petals. So you get a different look because this, the one we're looking at here, this is a standard round of this is the standard shell casing. This is something a bullet would be placed in. It's not a blank. An expended blank would look very, very different. So I hope you understand that's why, this could be very critical depending on how credible it is. This could be very critical to the case and ruin it. Because it ruins the whole thing at this point. And I'm trying to see, is there a good picture of some empty blanks? Expended blank here I can use. Actually, yeah, here we go. Here is a picture of some expended blanks, chat. This is what expended blanks look like. Once you shoot a blank, that's what it looks like. Kind of poofs out. But it's clearly a blank. It's clearly not meant for a bullet to go in. So that's the difference there about what's going on. And that's, if you're going to argue, if the prosecutor can argue that it was a real bullet or real casings instead of blank casings, well, Rocky's kind of fucked. So I would argue this is very critical. It's massively critical. It's huge. So I think the way the judge states this, I don't think is correct. I think that's an incorrect assessment of how critical these facts are, but we'll keep going. We'll let you listen to his solution to this problem.
You have said that, well, now you want to hire a ballistic expert. That's not fair to you and your client. So this is what I am proposing. We have a list, a Superior Court list of firearm examiners that have been recognized as experts. My star judicial assistant over there, Alice, will print out that list. Ms. Kaplan is an attorney who practices in this area. If there is someone on the list that you want to hire, contact that person and tell them this is crucial that the ballistic evidence be examined now, not later, but now. The court will pay for it. Mr. Mayers will not have to pay for this. We will. If the firearms examiner wants extra money because it's a rush, the court will pay for it. If you are not satisfied with the people on the list, then if you want to find your own examiner who will do the examination, the court will pay for it. If it's necessary that I speak to the examiner to impress upon the examiner the importance of getting this done ASAP, I'm glad to do that.
Very funny with the whole ASAP thing. I will say, when I heard this before, nobody chuckled. But that is hilarious. He says it's got to get done ASAP. That's awesome. That's hilarious. Now, I will say that is, yes, it's awfully white of him to do. You know, look, we will pay for it. We will pay for your clients. We'll pay for the expert because the state fucked up. We're going to pay for it. It's actually kind of impressive. That's a pretty solid move. It's very interesting. Shinobu is saying the blanks don't have any ballistics. They have tool marks from where an extractor and an ejector would be involved on it or where it got chambered. So there would be markings on a blank casing. That's the ballistics part I think they're talking about, is tool mark examining. But it's very interesting. It's very interesting how this judge is doing it. He's like, you know what? You know, he could have easily kicked it out, and that's probably what he should do. You know, too bad, so fucking sad. Be ready, Mr. Prosecutor. But this is, I mean, he's given them a better answer than I think I would want. But like, fuck. Now they're in a hard place saying, get any expert you fucking want. Any expert you want. Dolly's saying, shouldn't the state have to pay for it? Yeah, but then that would bring in an issue of like, well, did the state influence that person? So you don't want to do it. That'd be an appellate issue. Now, afterwards, if the state gets billed for it, sure, and that would come out of the government's budget. But remember, it's the government. It doesn't really cost them any money. That's not really an example. So I think, guys, remember, it's not about a bullet hole. It's about the casing itself. Did the casing get extracted by what type of gun? A fake gun or the real one? So it's interesting how this is set up. This is an interesting resolution to it. I've never seen this before, but I do like it. Yes, didn't the bullet catcher go pick up his own brass? Yes, and that's an issue. Relli, as I told you guys, he went and picked up the shell casings and went to the police and said, hey, look what I got. I got a bag of shell casings. Rocky shot me. And there's a lot of fucking issues here. There's a lot of issues. So, yeah, this is an interesting resolution here. Interesting resolution. Let's see how this works.
I am providing my cell phone number to all of you. If you need to call me any time of the day or night, I will speak to you. I will speak to a firearms examiner. If you feel it is necessary, Mr. Tacopina, we can be dark on Monday. But I'm not excluding the evidence. I don't find that there is any nefarious conduct. The evidence is relevant. It's not a smoking gun, but it is somewhat inculpatory. But in and of itself does not mean that your client is guilty. That's the way we're going to deal with this.
No, but it leads to him being guilty.
I don't want to hear anything more about it. That's the end of the issue for now. Are both sides ready for the jury to come in? Do not mention anything about the ballistic comparison in the opening statement.
That was a question.
So yeah, do not mention that.
Sure.
Your Honor, what I was planning on mentioning was that the cartridges found at scene were 9mm. In the defendant's house was a magazine that was 9mm.
All right.
And had some 9mm live ammunition in it. That was it.
If that has been part of the discovery and that was known, then that's fair game.
Yes.
But this ballistic comparison, that's off limits for the opening statement.
Yes.
All right, bring the jury.
Bring the jury and I'll put the list for the.
Oh, yeah, do you want that for this captain, the list of the firearms counter?
I can also email it out to the presence.
Just print it. Yes.
All right, chat. So here we go. We're going to bring the jury back in and we're going to go. So that was interesting there. So we're going to move ahead and we're going to hear the state's case. Here we go.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to start off by, on behalf of myself, Mr. Lewin, I'm sure on behalf of the defense too, and all the court staff, we all want to thank you so far for the time, attention, and candor that you gave to us during jury selection. We all understand that was a long process, and we appreciate your attention. After going through that long process, I'm sure some of you are thinking, wow, this must be a difficult case, or this must be a really complicated case. And to be fair to you, if I was sitting in your position and I looked out on the number of jurors that we started with, or even the number of attorneys that are up here, I'd probably have the same thought myself. But what the evidence will show in this case, and what will become almost instantly clear, is that this is not a complicated case. The evidence will show that the events in this case were captured on surveillance video. I'm going to start this whole presentation out by playing the video for you. So you will have that frame of reference as we're talking about different features, the people that were involved, the locations that are involved, and what happened. You will already have seen the video. The first video that I'm going to show you was captured on November 6th of 2021 at around 10:10 p.m. just outside of a parking garage entrance, mid-block, so on Argyle, in the middle of Argyle, between Hollywood Boulevard and Selma. The second video that I'm going to show you was captured 7 minutes later, so at 10:17. It was, if we're being generous, 2 blocks, maybe 1 city block away from the first location, down Argyle, around Selma, at a small intersection called Selma and Vista Del Mar. So I'm going to play the first video for you, that outside of the parking lot. Now I'm going to move to the second location, that at Vista Del Mar and Selma, and I'm going to pre-warn you, it's a little small, it's at a distance, so you're going to want to focus your attention at the top left-hand corner. All right, now let's go over the details. As I said, the people that are involved, the location, and I'll give you an explanation of what you've seen on these 2 videos. This case takes place in the heart of Hollywood. This is the iconic Hollywood and Vine. The picture you see here is just a demonstrative picture of that intersection, but it's an iconic intersection in Hollywood. That intersection is about 1 block 1 block west and 1 block north of the crime scene. So for those of you who are familiar with Hollywood and that intersection, it's a pretty big landmark, and that's where I want to focus your attention. Now, the actual shooting in this case takes place on a much smaller street, on Selma and Vista Del Mar. But this is the area around where that shooting took place. It is a very densely populated part of Hollywood, and there's some landmarks on there that you might be familiar with, just so that you can familiarize yourself with the location that we're talking about. The Capitol Records building at the top, the W Hotel, and Hollywood Boulevard. The shooting, as you've seen, occurred just outside of a parking lot on that corner of Vista, Del Mar, and Selma. That was a parking lot at the time that was full of cars, and it was ringed by a nightclub on the corner, a sound studio, a hotel, and 3 different apartment buildings right around. As I said, densely populated. This was also Saturday night. Saturday, November 6, 2021, at about 10 p.m. in Hollywood. This is a time that Hollywood is busy. Now that you understand kind of the locations that are involved, I want to start with how this case starts for LAPD.
Hi, I live in the apartment on the corner of Argyle and Selma in Hollywood, and there's just been a shooting.
So at 10:18 p.m., LAPD receives this call, that there's been a shooting at the intersection of Argyle and Selma. The call continues, though.
Did you see anything or you just heard it?
Yes. No, we watched it.
Okay, what did you see?
There were 4 men, and they were kind of fighting as they were walking along Argyle, and then they turned left onto Selma. We heard yelling, and they started running, and they turned left into the back of apartments for El Centro Apartments.
Now, the 4 men that you see on that screen will be the 4 men that we'll talk about in a minute. They were the 4 that were at that location.
And then someone pulled out, the guy in the black sweatshirt pulled out a gun, and he shot, and I think the guy who shot was blue.
Now, the evidence in this case will be that the man in the black sweatshirt was the defendant, Rakim Mayers. That evidence will be uncontradicted. As you have heard throughout jury selection, Mr. Myers is an entertainer, and he goes by the stage name APRocky. You will hear other nicknames that he is referred to in the evidence in this case, including Flacco and Luigi. At the time of this crime, Mr. Mayers was 33 years old. He has his own company, that I believe is referred to as AWGE, A-W-G-E, that you will hear referred to in the testimony in this case. And as we've talked about, the significant other is Rihanna. The victim in this case is a man by the name of Terell Ephron. And Mr. Ephron, you will hear, was also a member of the ASAP collective, and he went by the nickname ASAP Relli. Mr. Ephron was also 33 years old at the time of this crime. And what you will hear from Mr. Ephron is that he was friends with Mr. Myers well before this case, and well before even Mr. Myers was a famous individual. That essentially, I believe they met in high school and grew up together. He has known Mr. Mayers 18 or 19 years at the time that this shooting happens. And you will also hear that he, too, at the time, was working in the music industry, and he had his own company called Shut Eye Entertainment. Now, I mentioned it already, but to put a finer point on it, the group that both of these men were members of is called ASAP. It doesn't stand for what you probably thought it did when you walked into court. It's an acronym for Always Strive and Prosper. It was formed by high school age kids in Harlem, New York around 2006. They call themselves a collective. You will hear are rappers, producers, music video directors, designers, people that have different artistic pursuits that essentially work together. And there are many members of ASAP. The ones that you will primarily hear in this case are obviously Mr. Mayers, the victim, but also the two friends that were with Mr. Mayers at the time this happened. And they go by ASAP Ills and ASAP 12E. And I will just pre-warn you that 12E gets spelled a bunch of different ways. It's not always consistent. And there will be one last member that you'll hear about briefly, who goes by the stage name ASAP Bari. Sometimes people refer to him as Young Lord. As I said, the four main members of this group that you will hear about are these four men. The victim is on the far right, Mr. Ephron. The defendant is the next person to his left. As I said, ASAP 12E, his given name is Jamel Phillips, and the last is Elijah Ulanger, who goes by ASAP Hills. And these were the four men who were present at the time of both of these incidents. Now I want to take you to that weekend, Saturday night in Hollywood. There was actually at the time a music festival or concert series going on known as Complex Con in Long Beach. And you will hear that Mr. Mayers was to be a performer at that event the day after the shooting, was Sunday, November 7th. Now, although I told you that Mr. Mayers and Mr. Ephron were close at one point, you will hear that throughout their relationship, there was tension between the two of them. And that tension was essentially building up to the night of November 6th, 2021. You will not hear all the reasons why there was tension between the two of them, but we will get to the point the day before the shooting, November 5th, 2021, when that tension kind of comes to a head. But what happens on that day, Mr. Ephron will tell you, is that he is in a car with that last member of the ASAP group that I talked about, ASAP Bari. The two of them are driving when ASAP Bari receives a phone call from Mr. Mayers. And ASAP Bari takes that call on speakerphone. So Mr. Ephron, who's in the car, can hear both sides of the conversation. You can hear Mr. Mayers and you can also hear ASAP Bari. And in the course of that call, Mr. Ephron, the victim, heard the defendant saying these rude and aggressive things about him. Mr. Mayers at the time does not know that Mr. Ephron is in the car with the victim. This leads to the next day, November 6, 2021. You'll hear that Mr. Ephron was in Los Angeles working with one of the artists that he managed. He was asleep around 9:00 p.m. when he started receiving a series of urgent messages from not only from Mr. Mayers, but from the two other men that were with him, ASAP Ills and ASAP 12. And you'll hear that he received a number of calls kind of back to back to back from the three of them. Now, he didn't answer those calls because he was sleeping, but when he ultimately woke up, he saw that he had a number of missed calls. He also received text messages from Mr. Mayers that were aggressive, seeking a confrontation with him, asking him where he was, Mr. Mayers is on the left side of this conversation. Where are you at? Let's get to it. Stop ducking my calls. The messages that the victim is receiving are instantly aggressive towards him. So you will hear from Mr. Ephron that he called the defendant. He was groggy because he had just woken up. They had a conversation and they agreed to meet outside of the W Hotel in Hollywood. Mr. Ephron will tell you that as he went to that meeting, he was of the frame of mind that he and Mr. Mayers were going to have a confrontation. That he believed they would argue, and that ultimately this would lead to kind of repairing their relationship. So they would each be able to speak their piece and essentially fight like brothers do, and they would ultimately bring them closer together. They would repair sort of the issues that they each had with each other. So that's how Mr. Ephron is going into this meeting. Now, let's talk about the location where they meet, this location just outside of the W Hotel. You're going to see this map throughout this case. So I want to take some time to walk through it with you so you understand the various features that are depicted here. On the left side of the screen is Argyle Avenue. On the bottom of the screen is Selma Avenue. And on the right side of the screen is El Centro Avenue. Now you can't see it in this map, but if the map were to continue off the top of the screen, Hollywood Boulevard would be just above that. In the middle of this map, there's a small street called Vista Del Mar, but it kind of goes north and then forces you to go east. The red arrows that you see here are the path of travel that Mr. Mayers took that evening. So it starts.
Now, guys, this is getting pretty in depth for a simple, like they had a shooting. I mean, this is going on for a bit. It's like this is they're very in depth selling what happened here, but it's interesting how much their work they put into this.
At that mid-block location.
Also, chat, when you hear they talk about RHD, you're going to hear them refer to RHD a couple of times in this trial. That means Robbery Homicide Division of the LAPD. That's one of the more elite detective units in the LAPD. So they're the big ones. Like, you guys remember Heat? Al Pacino's character was in Robbery Homicide. It's like the biggest one besides like SIS, a Special Investigation Section. So RHD, you're going to hear from them. These are some of the best attorneys or best detectives the LAPD has.
On Argyle, continues down to Selma, and then up Vista Del Mar, around that corner, all the way to El Centro, and then he made a left turn on El Centro and went above, off the map. The numbers in the red boxes that you see here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, are the 4 different locations where the police were ultimately able to recover surveillance video from. There are 4 different locations. Attached to each one of those locations, you'll see the green triangle and the green, and with a green arrow in the middle. And what that represents is very roughly, this is not meant to be, exact, but very roughly the direction that a camera attached to that building was facing. You will also hear that locations 1, 2, and 4 captured video only. But you will hear that the location with the number 3 captured both video and audio. So I told you there's 2 incident locations, 2 altercations that happened. The first happens where the yellow box is right now, right outside of that parking garage. The second happens at that corner of Selma and Vista Del Mar. And that's where the firearm was actually discharged, where the gunshots were fired. So the first location I want to focus on is that where the initial confrontation happens. This location is the entrance and exit of a parking structure. This is that parking structure entrance if you were standing in Argyle and you were facing towards Selma. So Hollywood Boulevard would be to your back. And the entrance is on the left-hand side there. And what you will see in the videos, this parking lot entrance has those hanging indicators on from the roof that tell you how tall the garage is, so that if you are driving a tall car, you don't, of course there's fly buzzing around me, you don't run your car into the roof of the parking structure. And I point that out because when you watch the video, you'll actually see that red indicator through as a kind of a line through the video, so you know what that is. At the mouth of that parking entrance, there are cameras that are facing the sidewalk. Those are the first view that we saw. And these cameras capture the initial encounter between the victim, Mr. Ephron, who you see there, and the defendant, Mr. Mayers. And you can see that Ills is the first one to intervene to try to separate the two of them. And then at the very bottom of the screen, you see 12E putting his hand to try to also intervene and help separate them. Now I know it goes by quickly, and you're not as familiar with all these people, so I want to kind of break it down a little bit for you and show you what the evidence that you're going to receive throughout this case. The first person that you see in that video is the victim, Mr. Ephron. The second person who you see, who is instantly confrontational with Mr. Ephron, is the defendant, Mr. Mayers.
You can't tell that's him from here. Stop.
You see on the video that Mr. Mayers
absent the other
is
ID.
immediately aggressive towards Mr.
Absent the other IDs, there's no way you could tell this is him. But yeah, like two guys fighting. Wow.
Ephron. He's pulling at Mr. Ephron's sweatshirt and he's pushing Mr. Ephron backward and pushes him off camera, out of camera view. The third person that you see, as I told you, is Elijah Ulaner, who also goes by ASAP Ills, or he might just be referred to as Ills throughout this. If you look closely, you can actually see his stage name embroidered on the jacket that he's wearing there. And what he attempts to do is to de-escalate the situation, to get between the two men and to physically separate them. And you'll see that all three of them go off screen for a period of time. Mr. Ephron will tell you that during the period of time that they are off screen is when the defendant first produces that semi-automatic pistol from his waistband. He pulls it out of his waistband and he's holding it to Mr. Ephron. Mr. Ephron will tell you that the defendant pointed the gun at his chest and was essentially trying to point the gun around Ills, who was between them. That at the time that he was pointing the gun at Mr. Ephron, he was also threatening Mr. Ephron. I'm going to kill you. Keep in mind, these men have known each other for a long time. And Mr. Ephron will tell you, in his state of mind, he never believed that he was going to be shot. He never believed that the defendant would actually shoot him. He will tell you that had this been a stranger, someone he didn't know as well, he would have been petrified. As you can imagine, anyone pointing a gun at you would upset you. But he knows the defendant. He knows that Mr. Mayers is not going to shoot him. He knows so much so that he'll tell you he looked at the defendant and said, if you brought a gun, you should shoot it.
Okay, if any of my friends pulled a gun on me, I'm not thinking, oh, this is all work. I'm like, oh, shit. So, no, I don't buy that. I don't buy that.
That's how confident he is that he knows
I don't know who
the defendant is not going to pull that trigger. Now, the fourth person you can barely see on this video as they come back into frame, I told you, is Jamel Phillips, who goes by 12E or ASAP 12. You can just see his hand at the very bottom of the screen. When they come back on screen, and specifically when Mr. Mayers comes back on screen, you can see the gun in his hand. You will hear that that gun that he's holding is a semi-automatic pistol, or has features that are consistent with a semi-automatic pistol. Right now, as he's paused on the screen, you can see that he's holding that gun behind his back. But you will also see the gun come forward in front of his body before he ultimately tucks it back into his waistband. And you will see from the video that there were bystanders. As I said, this is a busy Saturday night in Hollywood, walking by as this confrontation is taking place. You will hear that right after that encounter that you saw, that Mr. Mayers walked away and was walking down Argyle towards Selma. Mr. Ephron will tell you that as he walked away, he looked over at 12E, Mr. Phillips, and he saw 12E putting the pocket knife away. And Mr. Ephron, and then 12E, Mr. Phillips, walked behind the defendant, Mr. Mayers, and Ills walked behind him as well. So the three men that had come to confront Mr. Ephron walked away down Argyle towards Selma. And Mr. Ephron will tell you that at that moment, his mindset about the initial confrontation changed. I told you that Mr. Ephron will tell you when he first went there, he believed that this was meant to be a confrontation so that they could strengthen their relationship. But having just had a gun pointed at him and seeing another friend putting away a pocket knife, that his mindset changed, and he understood these men never came here to try to make peace with him, that it was always meant to be a confrontation. And he decided at that moment that having a gun pointed at him was sort of a bridge too far in their friendship. And he understood he was probably never going to have the same friendship, especially with the defendant, ever again. And you will hear that as the defendant walked away, Mr. Ephron followed behind him and was yelling and screaming at him, even though he knew the defendant had a gun.
Yeah, that doesn't make
sense. Because although
sense.
Mr. Ephron believed this is going to damage our relationship, he still never believed that the defendant would actually shoot at him. It's not as if Mr. Ephron will tell you that he had some death wish or that he was not scared of guns. He will not come in and say that. What he will tell you, again, is that had anyone else done this, he would have been frightened. But he had known the defendant for so long, and they were close. So he walks down Argyle towards Selma and follows behind the three other men. When they get to Selma, they all turn left, and they walk towards Vista Del Mar. And they end up at that location we talked about, that corner of Selma and Vista Del Mar. And as Mr. Mayers stepped off the curb, he walked into frame of the camera at location number 2 that's pointing towards Selma. Now I want to take you, before I play the video again, I want to take you to that corner so that you can see from that night what it looked like. It's a small street with a parking lot immediately adjacent to it that were full of parked cars. And at 10:17 p.m. when they arrived at that intersection and the defendant stepped off the street corner into view of camera number 2, you will see video from that location. The video that I've played for you already and that I'm going to play for you again is from that location number 2. You will also see, that's the main video that you're watching, but you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a smaller video on top of it. It kind of has a bluish tint to it. And that video is from another location behind building number 2 where the number 3 is. And the video that you're seeing from that location is identified there by the green arrow. But what's important about that video, because the video does not capture the shooting at location number 3. What location number 3 captures is audio. And it captures the sound of the gun being fired twice. This is the location number 2 where the camera, the video that actually captured that shooting was. You can see the cameras at the very top corner of the building, and it's about 3 properties away from the location that we're seeing. So again, the video is captured at a distance. It's a admittedly grainy video. It's not the most clear that you could possibly have, but it captures enough features that you can identify who is who when you watch this video. So I told you the main video that you're watching is from location number 2, and that smaller location number 3 is in the corner. Before I play the video, I want to orient you to what you're seeing. Along the top is Vista Del Mar. The parking lot is just out of view of the camera at the top of the screen. Along the top left-hand corner is Selma, that forms that intersection. The red arrow is the defendant, Mr. Mayers. And the green arrow is the victim, Mr. Ephron. Okay. Now, what you see as the video plays is the various cameras on location number 2 switching between 3 different cameras that are mounted to that building. What's important about that, towards the end of the video, you'll see as Mr. Mayers is running away from the location, running down Vista Del Mar towards El Centro, he trips a floodlight that's motion activated. And when you watch the video closely, that floodlight is captured by both locations. So location number 2 and location number 3, those cameras each capture that floodlight turning on. And when you watch the videos together, you can see that moment in time when the lights flash on, line up. And that's how you know the sound correlates with the video that you're seeing playing at the same time from a different location. Now, I told you, we all know the video from location number 2 is from a distance. If you zoom in on the area where this incident happened, and we will play a zoomed in version of this video.
You know, the one thing that's interesting, these shots were fired in a highly crowded area. We never found any bullet holes in anything. Because you don't see oh, look, we found bullet holes. You think you'd find some. You think you would find some. Apparently not.
What you see is a very pixelated image, but what even that captures still are the colors the individuals are wearing, which is how you can distinguish who is who on the video. And you'll see Mr. Ephron on the far left. Ills is just next to him. 12E, who's wearing the red jacket, is just next to Ills, and then the defendant, who's wearing all black, is at the bottom of the screen. Again, I understand if you watch this video one time, you may not pick up these features, but as you watch it repeatedly, you'll be able to tell who is who. And you'll also be able to tell when you watch these videos in sequence, because they walk in front of other cameras that are far more clear, that you can easily identify who is who on this video. So this is the zoomed in version of that incident. This does not have any audio. Now, as we play the zoomed in version, you'll also see that Mr. Ephron is struggling with Ills. And what Mr. Ephron will tell you is that immediately as the defendant turned, pointed the gun at him, he jumped behind Ills, essentially to put Ills between him and the defendant. And you'll see on the video the defendant lunging one way and then the other way around Ills, trying to get at the victim, who is holding Ills in front of him. Now, despite how dangerous this is, having a semi-automatic pistol pointed at you and discharged twice, you will hear that Mr. Ephron was not seriously injured by this shooting. He has these injuries to the middle knuckle of one of his hands. Mr. Ephron will tell you that at the time the shooting was happening, he immediately felt a burning sensation to his hand, which led him to believe that these were graze wounds from one of the bullets that was shot at him. Perhaps they were. Perhaps they were not. Whether or not the victim in this case was actually shot or injured by this will not be something that you have to decide at the end of the case. We ask you to wait until the end of the case when the judge instructs you on the law what elements are actually required to be proven before you make any decision. And to listen to the charges specifically and not consider charges that the defendant is not charged with. In this case, he's not charged with attempted murder, for instance. Now, before I move on, I want to focus in on the last location that I haven't talked about much, location number 4. That location is a loading dock for this building on El Centro. It's right at the corner of El Centro and Vista Del Mar. And what you'll see in the video from that location is the defendant, Mr. Mayers, and his companion, 12E, walking from Vista Del Mar up El Centro towards Hollywood Boulevard. The arrows indicate their path of travel. They're going to come from that corner and then walk up El Centro. The camera itself is in that red circle. And you'll see this video is far more clear. And you'll see features of their clothing that you can match up to the clothing from the other videos that we've already watched. For instance, I mean, you can see just from
nobody's questioning the identity though,
features,
buddy.
He's the one wearing all black.
What does it matter?
His facial features compared to the video from the parking structure. And then, as I said, the various features of his clothing, the rhinestones on the hood of his sweatshirt in both videos, and the design, the rhinestone design on the chest of his sweatshirt at both videos. And taking all the videos in their totality and comparing them is how you'll be able to decide on the video who is who. Now, I played the 911 call for you that LAPD received at 10:18, which triggered their response. And you'll see and hear that at 10:27, LAPD officers responded to the 911 call, and as is their duty, they responded quickly to this call to try to of shots fired in the middle of Hollywood. You will hear from at least one of the officers who responded to that location, and the officer will tell you that as part of their uniform, they wear cameras that are mounted to their chest. And you will actually get to watch camera that captures the police response. After this shooting, the evidence will be that all four of these men, the defendant, 12E, Ills, and the victim, all left the scene. You'll hear that there were at least 2 people who called 911 to report this crime, who were just people living in the surrounding area, not actually involved in the altercation itself. You'll hear that the 911 callers were reporting different information. So the first call would be that the gunshots were fired at Argyle and Selma. The second call would be that the gunshots were fired in the area closer to Vista Del Mar and El Centro. You will hear from the officer that as they responded, they come to the scene looking for a victim. That's their primary focus, trying to find anyone who needs immediate life-saving attention. Their second focus will be looking for the potential suspects if they can find them. And you'll hear from the officer that as he's receiving information that's taking him to different locations, he's actually going between the different locations and trying to piece together what happened. But what will be important from his testimony is that he is not given a precise location to exactly where this shooting happened. And with the limited information that he has, he and his partner are doing the best job that they can to find any victims, any suspects, or any evidence of a shooting. You'll hear the officer talk to different people who were just out and about, try to figure out what was going on, that neither of the 911 callers would meet with them, and that they searched not only the surrounding streets, but they primarily focused on the parking lot that was right at that corner of Vista Del Mar and Selma, because the second 911 caller had told him, or had relayed that it was possible that the shooting was happening into a car. The officer will tell you that they searched the area and they did not find any evidence of a shooting. They didn't find a victim with injuries, they didn't find any of the suspects, and they didn't find any discharged cartridge cases, which are what come out of a gun after you discharge it in the surrounding area. But again, they don't know exactly where to look with the limited information that they're given. You will also hear from Mr. Ephron that approximately an hour, and he's not precise on the exact time, but approximately an hour after the shooting, he himself returned to the location. Now at this time, the police have already responded and left. Mr. Ephron will tell you that he and his girlfriend went there specifically to look for evidence that this had happened, evidence of the shooting. And Mr. Ephron will tell you, because he knew exactly where the shooting happened, that he was able to locate 2 fired cartridges. And this is actually a photograph that Mr. Ephron himself took of one of the fired cartridge cases that he found. Mr. Ephron, you'll hear, went to the police 2 days later, walked into the Hollywood police station to report this crime happening. He brought the 2 fired cartridge cases with him, and he gave them to the police. You will hear that the 2 cartridge cases that he brought in were 9mm Luger caliber cartridge cases. However, you'll also hear from Mr. Ephron that immediately after the shooting, about an hour and a half later, he started text messaging the defendant. And he text messaged the defendant, "You try killing me." That was the first message he sent to him. And you'll hear that Mr. Mayers' response was to deny that anything happened. The defendant, in abbreviation, says, "What the fuck is he talking about? Why are you telling people I shot at you?" Denying that any shooting has even happened. Mr. Ephron confronts him again. "You set me up to try to take me from my daughter." And the defendant responds, "I tried to do what? I know you hate me, I hate you too." The defendant responds again, "Stop making shit up." Again, denying any confrontation took place. Certainly any shooting. we have already told you in jury selection, and you will hear evidence, that after this shooting, Mr. Ephron sought money from Mr. Mayers. In fact, right, hours after the shooting, so this is the next day, November 7th, in the early morning hours, 3:40 a.m., you'll hear that Mr. Ephron sent a message to one of his friends saying that he wants money. And identifying the reason why he wants that money is because Mr. Mayers shot at him. You will also hear that based upon these two incidents, the parking lot and the shooting on the corner, that Mr. Ephron filed a civil lawsuit against Mr. Mayers. At the end of this case, you will not be asked to award Mr. Ephron any money. So that consideration will not be a part of your what you're asked to determine. Moving forward in time, you'll hear from LAPD detectives that Mr. Mayers' home was searched on April 20th of 2022, and that during that search, LAPD detective recovered a magazine for a semi-automatic pistol that was 9mm caliber, and that it was loaded with 6 unfired 9mm Luger rounds of live ammunition. You will hear that these items were found in Mr. Mayers' bedroom closet. You will also hear that there was no handgun that was 9mm in Mr. Mayers' home that was for that magazine. So you have a 9mm magazine, but no handgun to go with it. The last point I want to leave you with before I conclude is that we expect, in this case, that the defense will call Twelby, Mr. Phillips, to testify. At the time of the shooting, again, he's friends with all these participants. He's 32 years old. And it is expected that he will testify that the defendant was in fact the person on the video who fired the 2 gunshots that we hear. So it will essentially be uncontested that Mr. Mayers was the person who fired the gun at that street corner, and that he will tell you the gun that the defendant fired was a starter pistol.
So far, Chad, hearing all this, do you sound so far at all compelled this is legitimate and true? Because I'm sitting here thinking, this sounds like a lot of bullshit. Recovering your own evidence of the evidence scene, and then finding a magazine, but that doesn't mean anything. Yes, there's a payout. There's a lot of talk about money. And that's part of Rocky's allegations are, this is a shakedown and extortion by Relli to get paid.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is what the evidence in this case will show at the end of this case. As I've said, we expect that the defense will attempt to present an alternative explanation for what happened that night. But we ask you to do one thing, which is, as you evaluate the evidence from both sides in this case, to not leave your common sense at the door. And wait until the end of the case, when you have all the evidence, to make your decision. Listen to the court's instructions on the law, and return the only just verdict there is. Thank you.
All right, folks, we'll take the break now. Please be outside the courtroom doors at 1:30, as close to that time as possible. We'll have you come in, and you will hear from us.
All right, so then we're going to skip ahead. This is the neat part, chat. Remember, we're going 1.25 speed, so we're already going to catch up because they had their lunch. And we're going to start with the defense argument opening statements. Here we go.
Mr. Sloman is finished, and Mr. Jacopino for
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this case is about one man's jealousy, lies, and greed. That man is not Rakim. That man is Terell Ephron, or you've heard the name Relli. He is the source of all the evidence in this case, all that the prosecution is going to rely on. He's the source of all the evidence. The 2 assaults you're going to hear about in this case were both committed by this Relli. Both. All the evidence comes through his mouth. Every single piece of evidence for you to decide these charges comes through his mouth. This case rises or falls on his credibility. The videos you saw without his testimony proves absolutely nothing. You need to believe his testimony and his version of events from the video for these charges to be proven. The last thing the district attorney said on his opening statement was, don't leave your common sense at the door or use your common sense, something like that. Please don't leave your common sense at the door. I implore you to use your common sense in this case. Look, I will address the credibility of Relli in great detail later, what the evidence will show. But first, I'm going to begin explaining the purpose of an opening statement, what we do here. Opening statements are really lawyers giving you a preview of how we believe the evidence is going to show you, come in. How will unfold in this case, but it's more than that, actually. It's a promise to you. It's a promise from us to you. It's a promise that what we say is going to be proven is actually proven. And it's not like one of those politician promises. You know the politician promises, right? If you vote for me, I'll lower taxes, I'll make it safe, unemployment will go down, all those great things that politicians promise, and then based on those promises, you vote. And then you hope they fulfill those promises. Not here. Here, both sides make promises to you right now. You get to see if we fulfill those promises, and then you vote. That's the difference. Ladies and gentlemen, you represent the state of California, the people of the state of California. It's an awesome burden. And there's no greater service a citizen of this country can do than serve in the military or do what you're being asked to do right now. Stand in judgment of another person in a matter of such great importance. It's an incredible burden to bear. But that's why the 16 of you were chosen. There were 106 people here. You made the cut because you all, and even the alternates, assured us that you could carry out that burden fairly, impartially, without bias, without a closed mind. Listen to the evidence carefully before rendering your decision you promised. And base your decision only on the evidence, not some preconceived notions stemming from the nature of this case or what you may have read or heard.
This is entirely hard.
But just on facts. And to abide by the basic tenets of our Constitution, prove beyond reasonable doubt and presumption of innocence. And they're not mere technicalities, instead they're the backbone of this country.
I love that so far. He also sounds like Pussy Bumpensero from Sopranos. But the prosecutor to get up and object and say, you know, it's not just based on what, like, really the object at this point, and you're gonna see here, the prosecutor objects a shitload. But there was no point to object there. There was no point to object there. When you're objecting as the prosecution and against the defense, it better be really fucking good, in my opinion. And that was the way I was taught when I was doing prosecutor work. Like, it better be really fucking good. Otherwise, you just sit there and deal with it.
Person is presumed innocent, the judge straight told you. And it means he is, in fact, innocent. Until and unless the prosecution proves otherwise beyond reasonable doubt. Unreasonable doubt, the judge will give you the law labor at the end of the case. But it's doubt that causes you to hesitate in a matter of importance in your own life. I submit to you the decision you make in this case, at the end, will be the most important decision in the life of Rakim Mayers. And I'm confident that if you apply the standard and hold the prosecution to the burden of proving each and every element of both counts, beyond that doubt, it's a reasonable doubt, this will work out. And that's why the 16 was one jurors. Look, this is serious business, and I just want to tell you one last thing before we dive in. I just think some people, when they become jurors, forget. No one hears, and both sides, I'm not going to ask you to do anything you don't do in your everyday life. No one's going to ask you to do anything when you're assessing credibility, when you make determinations of credibility. Nothing you don't do in your everyday life. Whether someone's telling the truth, whether they're lying, whether they're mistaken. Just from your everyday life experiences, you'll be the best jurors possible. There's no magic formula, there's no elixir. And as you now know, there's no jury school. Use your God-given common sense in looking at this evidence. I know that will back into this case. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my name is Joe Deckney. I, along with Sarah Kaplan and Chad Siegel, have the absolute honor and privilege to represent Rakim Mayers' case, known globally as A$AP Rocky. The evidence will show you that Rocky was a self-made man, risen from the most humble beginnings to extraordinary successes through work, dedication, and artistic brilliance.
His argument was also irrelevant.
What is said in opening statement is not evidence. What is evidence is what can be proven. Sometimes things are said in opening statement that cannot be proven and are not proven. Sometimes they are. That's what this case will be about.
Remember my promises. I'll remember.
Once again, why would you object to the prosecutor?
I remember the DA put up a slide in the opening. It's from Harlem, a picture of him and Rihanna. Talked about when he was a teenager. I want to do the same thing. You'll hear he was born in Harlem, like they said. He was raised in poverty.
Your Honor,
You'll hear that
same, Your Honor, the same objection.
You hear about his upbringing, his mother and his siblings, and how he overcame with hard work, with dedication, and with talent.
That right there, guys, that right there is telling him to fucking cool it. This guy is so fucking cheesed off. It's like, just let him fucking talk. And this dude over here is telling him, like, fucking simmer down a minute, son. So you can see it happening.
Rocky's not only
I do want you to stick to what the evidence will show.
yes, I do believe the evidence will show that, but I'm going to get deeper into these facts. But what the evidence will also show is he's not only a celebrated artist and a fashion icon, he's a man who raised a beautiful family. That's the trying to put a picture of his significant other.
Your Honor,
You got to get to the facts.
You're going to hear the stark contrast in two individuals. Rocky on one side, Terell Ephron on the other side, known as Relli. He represents a very different narrative.
Just like this makes you look like a fucking dickhead to the jury. You have to be careful about this stuff. The jury might think you're a dickhead if you keep objecting.
The evidence will show you that this Relli presents himself to the world as a wealthy, successful man. Source like he's a reporting artist and businessman. He wants a very lavish lifestyle on social media. He goes with luxury goods.
Your Honor, the same objection. None of this is evidence.
Evidence will show you this. None of this is evidence yet. There's no evidence on both sides. Posting pictures of himself with large sums of cash and whatnot. It's fraud. He is all about the money grab. The truth is hoarded. And you're going to see this extravagant lifestyle that Relli wants is nothing more than a fraud, built on not on success and hard work, but upon criminal activity. Ladies and gentlemen, this case is all about money. I've said it once, twice, I'll say it a few more times. The evidence will show you it's nothing more than a money grab, nothing more. A clear attempt at extortion by Relli, so he can keep funding this extravagant lifestyle of his that he presents to the world. You're going to see the only reason we're in this courtroom is because Rocky would not agree to be a victim of another one of his crimes. That's why we're here. So Rocky said, here's some money. We're not here. He doesn't go to the police. And even after we went to the police, if Rocky gave him money, we're not here. It's not about justice, it's about money for him. Period, end of story. And I will show you that. The evidence will make clear that Relli is trying to leverage a fabricated story to extract money from Rocky, using lies to support these claims. And the evidence will show you that Relli is a blatant perjurer, someone who makes an oath, despite that oath lies. The evidence will show you, and you will see him commit perjury right before you in this court. And you'll see how important that is to this case. Because the evidence will show that despite all the evidence they claim to have, all of it, and I mean all of it, will rise and fall on the word of Relli and his credibility. Period, end of story. You will see, if you can't believe him, the prosecution's case fails. Now let's walk you through the events leading to the incident of November 6th, 2021, which is that part of this case. But to do that, we have to start a few years back. From Relli's own testimony, that was the catalyst for this incident. His resentment, not his own testimony, his resentment was the catalyst for this incident, and his animosity towards Rocky. The evidence will show you that Relli met Rocky when he was in high school in Harlem. We were both part of that creative and artistic conglomerate called ASAP, which now you know means always strive and prosper. Over the years, Rocky achieved more and more success in the entertainment industry at first. He did maintain a friendship with Relli, unfortunately for him. He even sought help Relli through professional collaboration. But that wasn't enough for Relli, clearly. You'll see the kind of person Relli is in this world. You're going to see it. He was jealous and angry, and as Rocky rejected some of the projects he presented to him, Relli's resentment grew deeper and darker. So embittered by the success achieved by Rocky, someone he once considered peer, Relli embarked on a dangerous course of action. And in November 2021, Relli's resentment towards him reached the fever pitch. After tragedy had struck another member of this ASAP group, an individual named ASAP Josh had untimely death, passed away. Evidence will show you that Rocky stepped up, spoke to the parents and the mom. ASAP Josh and offered to cover the cost of the funeral, bring the body back to New York and pay for the funeral. But Relli, still blinded by resentment, believed otherwise.
Yep, this guy's represented everybody.
He didn't agree to pay, or had agreed to pay, but they didn't actually pay. And he was furious. He went as far as to threaten physical violence against him because he thought he didn't pay for the funeral or for the expense of flying the body back. He was wrong because he did pay. But he went as far as to threaten physical violence. And you're going to see that for yourself, ladies and gentlemen. On October 16th, a few weeks before this incident, they wrote here to hear about. Relli told his friend that Rocky was a piece of shit and declared, "I'm going to beat this nigga up." Now, it's funny. They showed you a lot of text messages. I didn't see that one. Did not see that one. That's the catalyst. That's weeks before this incident, when he came in hot on November 6, 2021 on Argyle. And if you fast forward only a few weeks on November 6, 2021, you'll see that. You see that Relli sought to turn those threatening words into dangerous actions. And he did. The evidence will show you that on November 6, 2021, Rocky was scheduled to attend a music festival. They put it up at the complex on, with two other members of the ASAP crew, Elijah Ulanga and Janelle Phillips, who now know them as ASAP Ills and ASAP Trolley. So, in order to address Relli's resentment, because he was really mad, and having accompanied Ills and Twelby to the festival, Rocky reached out to him multiple times. As a matter of fact, I think he short text from one of Relli's friends to Relli saying, "Hey, I think he wants you, Rocky wants you to perform at a complex con." So Rocky was trying to get him to come. It was sort of a celebration of the ASAP crew. So Rocky, yes, he was urgently messaging him because they were late for this complex con. You're going to hear that from multiple witnesses. He was making them late for the show, so there were multiple messages for both Twelby and Rocky. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? And what we're going to learn that although Relli, because Rocky had reached out to Relli to make plans to meet at his hotel. And you're going to learn, however, that Relli said he was staying at the Lowe's Hotel, who wasn't back staying at the Lowe's Hotel, lied to Rocky and said he was staying at the W Hotel. Why? Because he wanted Rocky to think he was staying at a nicer place for him, which is consistent with his pattern of showing off, phony, extravagant lifestyle. But also consistent with his kind of lying. You'll see Relli committed perjury about that exact reason. And despite Rocky's best intentions, the evidence will show you that Relli was angry when he agreed to meet Rocky that day. And that anger came to a head when he encountered Rocky on the street, outside of a parking lot, on Argyle Avenue, leading to a brief altercation that took place on the street, which you saw a clip of, a very short clip of. You'll learn that Relli claims Rocky instigated, Relli, by the way, is twice the size of him, but we'll get to that. Relli claims that Rocky instigated the altercation, but the evidence will show you it was Relli who was the one looking for a fight. And you'll hear about Relli's day, the hours before meeting Rocky. You'll hear what happened that day. Independent of Rocky that evening. You'll hear Relli's claim that Rocky pressed the gun to his stomach, to his chest, and his head. But the evidence, the independent evidence, the stuff that you don't need Relli's word for, we'll show you all of us. Fortunately, the video evidence from the parking garage captured the incident. And that was lied to Relli's kind of his story about that. The video will also show you who the real aggressor was here. It shows you that Relli approached Rocky and reached out first. It was Relli who made the first physical contact. You can see in a second. The DA said that Rocky was the aggressor. Here's the video. It also shows that what followed was a very quick scuffle. Again, you saw it. With Relli making physical contact and pulling Rocky towards him. Not Rocky pushing Relli, who outweighs him by almost 100 pounds. Not Rocky pushing Relli, but Relli pulling Rocky. The DA said, in his opening, he said that Rocky was pushing Relli. You know who else said Relli was pulling Rocky? Relli said that. Relli in a statement. And when he watched the video, said, yes, I was pulling Rocky this way. So that's not a good narrative. So they just changed that. So Relli has made statements about this incident. And they're stuck with those. It shows the incident was over in a matter of seconds, this video did. And despite Relli's exaggerated claims that there was no evidence. There was no evidence that a gun was pressed against his stomach, direct at his chest, or pointed at his head. This gun. This didn't happen. Instead, the evidence shows that Relli, again, this would be much larger than Rocky was the antagonizer here. Now, all that being said, I do need to pause here for a second. I need to pause here for a second and address the very thing that serves as the basis for Relli's fabricated story. The video that you saw, the first video, shows Rocky holding an object what appears to be the gun, and Relli seized on that and manufactured his extortion claim. And we'll get to the extortion in a bit. Remember, this is a promise from me. We'll see extortion. And if I'm not good on my promise, you'll hold it against me. Watch it. The evidence will make clear that the object Relli alleged was a firearm was absolutely nothing more than a prop gun. The DA ended his opening statement saying, 12B will tell you that. He'll testify, we have Rakim tell you. Not just 12B. Multiple witnesses will tell you that. Not just 12B. Multiple witnesses will tell you that that was a prop gun. You'll learn that that was a prop gun, also called a starter gun, a blank gun, or it's a type of fake gun. It's used in cop movies and music videos. It's also used to scare off attackers by looking and sounding like a real gun, without actually firing a live round. The evidence will show you that Rocky, obviously, I think you all know by now, was a high-profile person and felt the spotlight, and he was targeted. The evidence will show, in fact, that he was a victim of prior violence, which caused him to carry this. Victim of home invasions, victim of a stalker at that time, in November of 2021, victim of a slashing on his face, which he still carries with him today. It's
Your Honor, there's been no.
I mean, like, the idea that, oh, Your Honor, there have been no, it's like, he's telling you what they're going to show. They're going to show that Rocky has a good fucking reason to carry a fake gun because he couldn't get a hold of a real one because people attack him. He's got a knife mark on his face. You know, this prosecutor's again objecting, like, that's pretty fucking relevant. It's pretty fucking relevant. Makes it look like you got something to hide when you keep objecting, buddy.
Rocky was advised by security to carry a prop gun to scare off potential attackers. And by the way, folks, listen to this one. Rocky was licensed to possess firearms and licensed to carry firearms in November of 2021. He was licensed by the state of California. He could have legally had his own firearm. He didn't want to carry a real gun, though. Despite his ability to do so legally, he didn't want to carry a real gun. For fear that he would either injure someone or himself. Again, I want to repeat that. He didn't need to hide a gun, carry a legal gun. He was licensed to carry a gun in this state. So you're going to learn that in July 2021, a few months before the incident with Relli, Rocky was in a music video with Rihanna that had prop guns in it. The evidence will show you that Rocky took one of them, which he carried as a security measure, as he was advised to do to scare off potential attackers. And that's exactly what he tried to do with Relli on November 6, 2021. Unfortunately, we hear that Relli was not to be deterred, not scared, because Relli knew that that gun wasn't real. There will be evidence to that fact. And all of Rocky's friends knew that Rocky carried a prop gun for safety. All of them. In fact, the evidence will show you that Relli not only told Rocky as much, but he actually called Rocky's bluff and said, shoot me. Knowing that he couldn't. With all this laid out, I do want to show you the video and walk you through it with respect to the first encounter. I'm going to play it once, it's quick, and I want to show you 2 snippets. Here's the first encounter. That's Relli coming up.
Hey, Reform, how you doing, man? It's good to see you. It's been a little while. Saying it's all ASAP's mom's fault. He is because his dad was like run off by the mom. Yeah. We'll get to these other comments in a second, chat. Remember the way they show this, chat. Rocky, you know, we're gonna back this up here. We'll play it. We'll stop it again.
I pulled him back.
Yeah, so we need to back it up. Here we go. See, remember, they're saying this is Rocky over here, and this is Relli over here. Well, when you watch it, it looks like this guy's pushing and dragging, not the other way around. So just to my view. Yeah.
Okay, now, there's two things I want to play for you in there. The first thing is, the first person to raise a hand to anyone is Relli. You're gonna see when he comes up, initially that's him, you all agree, in those black hands coming up. First person, you'll see he goes with his left hand. He raises his hand first. Put that one snippet going on, please. Boom. Do it again. Boom. He comes up with that left hand before Rocky raises his right hand. And how do you know that? Play the next clip, please. He has his hand around Rocky's neck or shoulder, and Rocky's right hand then finally comes up. Boom. This guy has his hands around Rocky's neck or shoulder before Rocky's right hand comes up. Boom. And then you heard and you saw in the video, they're going backwards. Relli, yeah, it was much better. You can see that from there. Said to the police, yeah, I pulled him back. I pulled him back. Okay, so they told you, well, Rocky pushed him back. That's how Relli said. Defies sort of the law of physics. He weighs him by 100 pounds. Relli pulled him back. And by the way, all the gun pointing to the head, chest, pressed against the stomach would have had to have happened within seconds of that video with that kid Ills in between them. Seconds. You saw none of that on the video. And the second encounter, after that brief altercation by the parking garage, Relli was angry and out of control still, and wouldn't stop. The evidence will show you that those three guys, Rocky, Ills, and Schwelby, walked away. They walked away. There was a map put up here. I don't have one of those. It was nice. It was a map showing where the first thing happened, and then there was a block, and then walk around the block where the second thing happened. That guy followed them around two corners. Pursuing them. He hadn't had enough, apparently. They were walking away from him, trying to get away from him. He pursued them around two corners. And the evidence will show you that those guys, Rocky, Ills, and Schwelby, tried to get away from him.
And that's very powerful, chat. Remember, they show that map, but they don't put it in the context. And this guy's explaining they walked away and fucking Relli kept coming after him. Yes, once again, you know, that is a massive fucking problem for the state here. Their victim sounds like a fucking dickhead. Remember, juries want to know who the bad man is, and right now it's not clear.
You try it. You'll hear that although Relli claimed that Rocky had a real gun, now Relli not only continued to follow the guy with a real gun, but he followed and yelled at them and berated them and told the Ills, you're a crackhead. And told Schwelby, you live in the projects, not successful like me. And told Rocky, you're a bitch. So the guy who supposedly pulled a real gun on him, and now apparently someone else has a knife too, and they're running away from him, he's chasing them, antagonizing them, bragging about his own successes. You'll listen to Relli's story about that, ladies and gentlemen. You get to assess the credibility. Because it will continue to unravel. The story will continue to unravel. Even the police questioned him. Why would you continue to follow Rocky after he supposedly pulled a real gun out on you? Said the police to Relli. And you look at Relli's answer to the police. I don't know. I don't know. I promise you that answer never came from the courtroom. That's what he said initially when asked. And of course he didn't know. He had to say, I didn't know. Why follow? Because he couldn't tell the police the truth that he knew Rocky's gun was a prop gun. Because that wouldn't work for his narrative. One that can actually shoot him. And because he was aware of that fact, Relli continued his aggression. You'll hear that Relli was so angry that he was ready to hit Relli, according to Relli. You'll hear that he was so angry that he hated Hills, according to Relli. You'll learn that when Relli finally caught up with him around two corners, on the corner of Selma and East Belmar, his anger and hatred came to a boiling point, and he attacked his Hills. Attacked him. And make no mistake about this, the evidence will show you Relli was the aggressor there as well. And Rocky, again, significantly smaller than Lee, fired that prop gun, that star gun, which makes sound just like a real gun. That's the purpose of it. He fired it twice, hoping the sound would be enough to scare off Relli and protect Hills. Wrong. Relli didn't stop. He didn't stop because he knew it was a prop gun, but he didn't stop. And the evidence will show you that after Rocky fired those two warning shots with that prop gun, car alarms went off. Because there was that big parking lot right there where they were. Car alarms went off. I'm sorry, but you guys are here. It's hard to look everywhere. So 12B, being sort of Scott in mind, told Rocky, hey, listen, man, get out of here. The car alarm's going off now. People are going to start coming. Rocky obviously is a public figure, and now people are going to have their attention drawn to this. Get out of here. Rocky listened. He persuaded Rocky to leave the scene. 12B said, I'll check on Hills, because Hills was having a rough go of it. Hills is smaller than Rocky. And really was pummeled. You're going to hear about how Hills' face looked after this encounter. It was a hot mess. So you'll hear a different story from Relli. He claims, I'm pretty sure, he claims he grabbed him, Hills, as a human shield. A human shield. Funny, Hills did that job. But he was a human shield. Evidence will show you that's just another lie. It's another lie. The evidence will show you that. You'll see that Relli knew the prop was hurt, first of all. Second, you're going to see that Relli wasn't hiding behind Hills or under Hills. In fact, in the video, if you look carefully, we'll show you, you'll see that Relli's on top of Hills as they're on the floor, on top of him. And even after Rocky left the scene, listen, even after Rocky left the scene and ran, the evidence will show you that Relli continued to attack Hills. A witness will walk you through that. That sort of is a problem for them. I mean, this guy was claiming he was shot at one point, and he is still attacking the guy that he started to attack before there was any warning shot fired. He's still attacking, not to be deterred by any star pistol or real bullets from him. The DA played you a video here that had that sound, those little box in the bottom, and that sound, or pop. That video was called the sequence surveillance video. The district attorney played on the roll. Funny part about that video is that they cut out that last part of the video. We'll play the full part. But the part where Hills goes back and attacks, Relli goes back and attacks Hills. They cut that part of that video out. It's not on that sequence surveillance video. They cut out those last 3-4 seconds. That's a problem. Now, this altercation, like the first one around the corner, was also captured on video. As you saw, that thing is not clear. I saw some pictures up here earlier. It looked like aliens or something. It's not clear, but you can make some things out. But even Relli in his testimony said, I really can't tell what happened in that video. So we have to go on his word now. And although the video captured that incident, that was less than half a minute, not particularly clear, the evidence will make clear what happened there. The evidence will. Relli physically attacked Hills. Rocky tried to use a prop gun to defend him. And with that, I want to walk you through that video the best we can. We'll play it first. And you know,
now, chat, this is, the funny thing here, and this is something I am really surprised at the state. They knew the money thing was a thing there. They knew this whole money thing was something being argued about and how this was going to go. They knew the defense was going to bring it up. And I don't think they spent enough time focusing on it. I don't think they really invested time in trying to downplay the issue. And right now, the defense is just harping on this shit. And it's kind of it gets to go uncontested. And right now, this guy, the defense attorney, is laying out in the video, like, here's part of that you didn't see. Right off the bat, he's already saying these guys are fucking liars. It's not a good look. It's not a good look here. Also, apparently, fucking Twitter took down the other potentially criminal thing, claiming they're both fake accounts. So right now I'm kind of I'm out of Twitter right now, chat. Real quick, Duncan Idaho gifted 5 subs. Grays, keep moving. You and Relli hit the fucking bricks. That's all I can say right now, chat. Hit the bricks. Thank you, Duncan. I appreciate the support. Examoon says, Rocky went to a favela in Brazil with Skrillex. Yes, I heard about that. I've seen that video, too. It's interesting. And Stephen Bunt says, just tuning in. Holy cramped courtroom, Batman. Well, remember, guys, I'm not joking. Like, in the real world, this is what courtrooms look like. They're awful to hold a trial in like this because everybody wants to be there. So it shouldn't be a surprise. So let's keep going. Yeah, so you want me to hit the bricks. Yeah, you can make another account. Yeah, it's a bit of pain in the ass, though. So, what do you want us to do for you on Twitter? I don't know. Raise the alarm that I, like, say, hey, Twitter, what the fuck happened? I don't know. Yell at Elon Musk. Maybe he'll pay attention. But both the potentially Crim and LawTube Sean were nuked. So, yeah. Whatever you guys want to do, I'd appreciate it. But no big deal. I'm trying to sort it out in the meantime.
Go to the second corner. Up here. Focus on here. There's Rocky. There's 12B. Then Hills comes and he's following. You see him go right after Hills, Relli. And that's when Rocky fires the warning shots. There's Hills on top. Relli on top of Hills, punching him. That's Hills going down to the ground. Rocky's gone. 12B's about to be gone. And watch. There goes Relli back after Hills. And then he goes away after he hits me in. Hills eventually caught up with 12B and Rocky. His face was basically busted open. We have the clips to play. So what clips is that again? So I'm going to play broken down little clips. The first one is then all being followed. Upper right hand corner again, guys. All being followed by Relli. 3 of them trying to get away. First Rocky, then 12B, then Hills, and Relli's still coming hard. You knew that to see so many times as you want later. The second one is Relli on top of Hills on the ground. Is that right? Yes. Let's just help here. Can I stand up here for a second?
Actually, Alex is going to get we have a pointer in the courtroom.
Oh.
And he's going to get it.
All right.
So, yeah, you can stand where you want to stand, but in a little while, Alex will bring up the pointer. You can use it, or Mr. Lewin can use it, or Mr. Lewin can use it, or Mr. Sigmund can use it.
All right, so not hold it one up. I'm just going to go forward here right now, okay? All right. Can you go back again? Because this is the clip where you'll see Relli, and you get to see it later. Relli, big guy, on top of that little guy Hills, on top of him, not using him as a shield. Watch. Good. There's Relli, that's Hills down, and Relli on top of him. He's not worried about shield. He's going after him. And then the last clip is, we playing that last clip is, take a look at it. It's after Rocky's on, Relli continues his pursuit of Hills. Poor little kid. There. And he hits him again before he peels off. He goes to the left to hit Hills, and then he goes to the right. There's also a witness that saw this. Unfortunately, Rocky's intent to scare Relli didn't have the intended effect, obviously. Instead, Relli continued his attack on Hills, and then hatched his extortion plan. What you'll learn is that Relli returned to that scene an hour later. He returned to the scene an hour later. And he attempted to fabricate evidence, ladies and gentlemen. This is some offensive stuff. It's going to be crystal clear. He attempted to fabricate evidence. You'll hear Relli's claim that he came back to the area an hour later with his girlfriend, Lydia Parker, and that while they were there, he quickly found 2 shell casings. Rocky fired right there, picked them up, and he found them. And then he videotaped them. An hour later, you will see that story fall apart so hard. Why? Because the evidence will show you that well before Relli returned to the area, 7 police officers, like that's right, 7 police officers arrived at that same spot. They responded to the scene and carefully searched every inch of that area. I could not believe what I heard on the opening statement. Oh, the police didn't know where to look. Police searched the exact same spot where Relli claims he picked up the bullets. Not close to it, not near it, the exact same spot. Thank God there's videotapes. There's a body cam from the police where they're searching. And there's a surveillance video that you see here that captures Relli coming back now. Exact same spot. So, we're playing now? What's that? We're playing or we're showing? Showing. So, this is where the police are. I'll zoom back in. The police are searching with flashlights. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 right there right now. There were 7. There's another one here. This is where the alleged tussling was with Relli and Hills. Rocky's here. 12 is here. Here's the corner they came around. So this is where the shots. Yeah. It's very high tech, you're on. This is where the shots were.
Easy on screen.
This is where the shots were discharged according to Relli right here. Okay, right here. Look at where they're searching. This is where Relli, as he comes back an hour later and picks it up. And here's the landmark. Look, this is the corner that they all came around, right here. And this is where it all started. And here, there's that opening right here. See this big orange, red, whatever this thing is here? Look at the picture below. Okay. That thing there is that thing here. That opening here, this is a big orange thing. And you can't really see this well here. You'll be able to take these with you later. This is that orange thing. Go back up again, guys. Down to the other one. This is that orange thing. Directly across a few feet there is where they're searching. Go down. Directly across a few feet there is where they're searching. You know what that is? That's really now there. Going to the police. They capture that surveillance video. That's him an hour later. Coming back. Retrieve bullets. In the exact same spot at the. Go ahead up. The cops were searching for a flashlight. And the cops weren't there looking for, they didn't know what. The cops were there looking for shell casings because they were called in for shots fired. So, what the police officers searching that scene found were no shell casings, no bullet fragments anywhere, and they were there. 7 officers with flashlights searching everywhere. No shell casings, no bullet fragments, no damaged property. Understand, there was a parked lot full with cars right across from where this alleged shooting was, a real one, right? Not a window broken, a tire popped, a dent in a piece of metal. No damage to any vehicle at all. Absolutely no sign of a real gun being fired, as one of the police officers on the scene said. I repeat that. One of the police officers on the scene said, there's no evidence of a gun being fired. But still, they're going to ask you to believe Relli, who miraculously found them in the dark an hour later after 7 trained officers with searchlights in the same exact spot. Couldn't find them. So much for the officers didn't know where to look. They were right in the same spot. So, for that matter, although Relli's going to claim his girlfriend was there with him, because that is a corroborating witness that can back his story up, right? When he found those shell cases an hour later, the video evidence in this case will show otherwise. And she wasn't with him, unless she's a ghost. And she wasn't with him. Thank God for those surveillance videos. So what did Relli first do with the videos he made of the shell casings? Did he go to the police? No, he didn't contact the police. Instead, he sent them to Rocky and Rocky's manager and said, I'm going to be rich. That was his first thought. I'm going to be rich. I mean, here's someone who basically claims he was shot. That was the initial story, shot. He miraculously recovered the evidence from the crime scene that the police could find. And he'd go to the police. His first thought was, I'm going to be rich. Well, the evidence will show you that Relli committed perjury about those messages. He actually texted a message meaning, I'm going to be rich. He said, I'm going to be itch at one point. But he said, oh, I didn't mean rich when I said itch. I meant irritable. Okay, it was itch and irritable. It's not very close when you type in itch. Sometimes it's called itch and irritable. It's just one lie after the other. He testified at the early hearing in this case, under oath. And you'll learn shortly after sending those messages to Rocky and his business manager, you're going to learn that Relli sent another message to his business partner, to Relli's business partner, saying, I want to get this nigga's money. That's what was on his mind, not his near-death experience. Oh my God, how did he even survive that? Scrape on his knuckles. Not running to the police to arrest the culprit. No. Texting everyone, I'm going to get rich, I'm going to get his money. That's all he cared about. The evidence will show you that Relli fabricated these shell casings in order to extort Rocky, right from the outset, right from the get-go. And why did he think he could get away with that? Why? Because Relli didn't know that the police had already returned within minutes of the sounds of the incident there and searched the scene. He didn't know that. Of course, they didn't find anything. We talked about that already. There was no actual shooting because there was no real gun. There was no evidence of a shooting because there was no real gun. And that's why that same night, in response to Relli's text to Rocky texted him, if I shot you, go to the police. They didn't show you that text, though. Showed you a bunch of texts between Relli and Rocky that night. They didn't show you that text. Rocky said, go to the police. Yes, someone who really shoots someone and is guilty said, yeah, go to the police. Rocky texted him that. But of course, he didn't go to the police. That was not on his mind. You'll hear what he thinks of the police. After his immediate efforts to extort Rocky failed, because he just wanted to get rich, he wanted to get that, need his money, as he said. When it didn't work, he said, okay, I gotta go get a civil lawyer.
Once again, chat, that's the neat part about court. You get an N-word pass if the N-word's involved. You have to use it judiciously, but you get an N-word pass.
Tried on his own to get the money. Let him go get a civil lawyer to try and get money out of Rocky. And you'll hear that because the civil lawyer would only take his case if he went to the police. Relli then went to the police 2 days later. 2 days after the incident, he finally goes to the police. And you'll learn of the inconsistent statements he made to the police because he couldn't keep the story straight. It is all over the place. You'll hear this ridiculous claim like the one about him being shot. You saw that picture. The supposed proof of him being shot, the knuckle scrapes, the superficial knuckle scrapes across his knuckles, which are consistent with him doing what you see in the video, attacking somebody, kills. That did not look well. But attacking somebody and punching and scraping the knuckle on the ground. What kind of bullet does that? His one knuckle bounces down, his other knuckle bounces down again. I mean, it's ridiculous that he said that. He got shot. That's his first story. Now you hear the back off, way off that thing now. You'll hear his ridiculous thing about that injury, that it was a gunshot wound that required medical attention, he first said. Of course, now the DA just said to you, oh, you don't have to decide at the end of this case if you got shot or not. You don't have to decide. Not that easy. Not that easy. You do have to decide because his credibility is at issue here. You have to decide if he was lying, if he was embellishing, if he was making up a story to get money. So if he says he got shot, and you find he didn't get shot, you do have to decide that. Relli at this very moment has a civil lawsuit against Rocky, seeking millions of dollars. $30 million for the knuckle scrape. $30 million. Not just. Oh, he also claims that he's a permanent disability.
Now, chat, we're going to rewind that. You need to hear the amount he wanted. $30 million. You're going to hear it. You can say it again.
$30 million for the knuckle scrape.
That's a lot of fucking reasons that's a lot of reasons to commit perjury, chat. 30 million reasons. So, very interesting that's all happening like that. So, something to think about. Something to think about.
$30 million. Not just. Oh, he also claims that he's a permanent disability from the knuckle scrape. And he lies about almost everything in this case. He swore that he has a permanent disability. You're going to see an Instagram video of him with that permanent disability, showing his manicured hand, turning it around with his Rolex watch on. Permanent disability. It is offensive to a different level.
I didn't know about the permanent disability thing, but that's fucking hilarious. If he's permanently disabled, is he You know, that is fucking funny if he really does say that. I can't wait to hear that part. I didn't know about that.
He even claims he went from necessary medical treatment for his injury to a hospital, but not here in LA, where he was shot. He waited all the way from California to New York to go to a hospital many days later, after getting a civil lawyer and being told by the detective in this case, really, you should go to the hospital, not to make sure you're not going to die, not to make sure you don't lose use of your hand, not to make sure your knuckles heal. The detective said, you should go to the hospital for this case. The detective, it's going to be undisputed, told Relli to go to the hospital for this criminal case. Do you think they're trying to build a case? Is that what we do? We instruct victims to go to the hospital to make it look better? Those scrapes are no more proof of a real gunshot than those shell casings that the 7 officers did not find are. And what else did the police not find after Relli turned in the shell casings over to them, finally, after walking around and God knows where for 2 days? What else did the police not find? You'll hear that the police, despite examining them for fingerprints, didn't find Rocky's on them. Because bullets, metal, catch prints. So if someone loads a bullet into a gun, got prints on that. Not Rocky's. Now, the shell casings apparently had no fingerprints on them whatsoever. As if someone who came to find them after the fact wiped them completely clean. And what else wasn't found on those shell casings? Rocky's DNA. They took samples, the police did, of Rocky's DNA for the purpose of comparison. They took his DNA to compare it with the bullets. Zero. Nothing. Never connected to the shell casings. As I mentioned, he was licensed to carry and possess firearms. You'll learn that he legally possessed firearms, which in fact were recovered from his home. You saw that whole bunch of pictures. He had firearms legally in his home. No problem. Because the search they recovered. No problem with the police. The evidence will show you that none of those firearms recovered were 9mm caliber. Because he didn't have one. You'll learn that the 9mm caliber of the shell casings that Relli claims are recovered from the scene are exactly the type of gun that Rocky didn't possess or own. You'll hear, and you heard from their opening, that there was a single magazine containing 9mm ammunition in his home. And you learn that belonged to his manager, Lou Levy, who will tell you, he will be here and testify why that was his. He also was licensed. Most importantly, though, when it comes to this little issue of the bullets recovered by Relli, that didn't have Rocky's fingerprints, the police missed, and all that stuff, and the 9mm ammunition recovered in Rocky's home, that one magazine, 5 bullets, whatever. Most importantly, you're going to learn that the shell casings were completely different than the ones that Relli said he found at the scene gave the police. Completely different. You'll learn that the 9mm ammunition in Rocky's home was a brand called Sig Sauer, and the Relli shell casings that he claims were found at the scene that the police missed were a brand called Terell. I'm going to show you the difference. I'm going to show you the pictures.
They got the Siggers, chat. These goddamn Siggers.
This is the one in the house. That's that magazine that they recovered with 2 bullets in it. That was Lou Levin's. This says Sig. Hello. I can see nothing now, so can you zoom back a little bit? SIG.
Oh my God, are these guys going to start jerking around and not knowing how guns work? Oh.
SAUGER or something like that. Sour. What's this?
That's not what that says. It says 9mm Luger. That says Luger on the bottom. God, these like normie fucking gun people. God damn it.
Luger. What? Luger. SIG. SIG. SIG Luger. The ones at the scene are these from Relli. FC, which stands for Federal Cartridge. Completely different brand. Completely different bullet. Those are the ones from the house that belong to someone else who will testify here. Those are the ones that Relli claims to have found at the scene. They're different bullets. All together. So much for that big reveal on the opening. They didn't show you that. No. They didn't show you the comparison of the bullets. just a magazine. Rules, and I know difficulties. In the end, you'll see that all the objective evidence in this case relied on by the prosecution to support a shooting rises and falls, on the word and credibility of Relli, who is a proven criminal and perjurer. Those shell casings he claims to have found, the superficial scrapes he claims is gunshot wound. The video himself that he even claims he can't make out clearly. We have to rely on his rendition of only. Because without his rendition, you get nothing from any of this. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your job in this trial to evaluate the evidence. To look at every single piece of evidence they present to you, the prosecution, and ask yourself, does that pass the smell test? I remember Mr. Lewin, every time he stood up in jury selection, said, possibility? Did we say possibility? No, no possibility. No possibility. The word possible is not part of this trial, he said to you. Remember that. This case is not about possible. It doesn't pass the smell test, and you have to ask yourself that, does it? Or do you have a doubt about a piece of evidence that's really the focus here when you consider the charge in this case? There are two charges. The first charge is assault with semi-automatic fire gun in this case. No, actually I said that wrong. It's an assault with a semi-automatic firearm. That's the first count. Both counts of that, actually. The first one is the altercation in front of the parking garage. The second for the altercation around the corner. 2 counts. To prove those 2 counts, they must prove beyond a reasonable doubt 2 things. 1, Rocky possessed a real gun.
This sounds like
Okay. The judge will give the law. He's right. The judge will give you the law. That's what needs to be proved. You're right.
I need to object to that. You're right.
And you were right too on that one. They won't be able to meet that burden in this case. When the judge gives the law, you'll see the 2 things that have to be proven. It's not even close. I'm either. The objective evidence in this case, independent of Relli, just is not there. There are no gunshot wounds, no evidence of actual gunfires off at the scene, no shell casings found at the scene when the police arrived.
This sounds again like your argument.
Evidence will show you there's no property damage, no fingerprints, no DNA linking Rocky to anything. And that's because what Rocky had was a prop gun. Either that, or he was the luckiest man to ever walk the face of this earth. What is real in this case wasn't a gun, but Relli's attempt to extort Rocky. That is real. Out of millions of dollars, and using this criminal case as a windfall in this civil one, and folks, and going back to what I first said to you, my promise, it's a promise to you, that I wouldn't be doing this so emphatically if I weren't sure.
That's all I want to see. Properties.
You will see, the evidence will show you hard evidence of an extortion in this case, and perjury to try and cover it up. Hard evidence of an extortion in this case, the evidence will show you, and perjury to try to cover it up. The evidence will show you Relli's understanding in that regard, that if Rocky's found guilty here, he automatically has liability in this civil case to get money.
No, that's absolutely wrong. That's intriguing.
Counsel continues. Stop. Whatever. Stop. No speaking objections. Stop. Disregard anything about the consequences of whether Mr. Mayers is or is not convicted in this case. The consequences have no bearing on any decision that you have to make, and you're going to be given a jury instruction to that effect.
Thank you. Anyway, it's been Relli's endgame from the start. You're going to hear some of the absolute worst things come out of his mouth when it comes to this case, this criminal case, and how much he truly cares about this case and what he was willing to do to this case. Ladies and gentlemen, this case is over. You'll see that Rakim Mayers, they said Rocky's innocent. He's not only not guilty, he's innocent. When we stand up here for our closing arguments in a couple of weeks, we'll talk about how the evidence shaped up. You'll see that Relli was never about justice, ever. It's about a man seeking a profit from a fabricated narrative, using false.
Read that again.
It's about a man seeking profit from a fabricated narrative.
It's right.
The evidence will show you that Rocky has absolutely not.
It's entirely a fucking argument from them. It's
This
bullshit.
man,
Sorry.
evidence will
I
show
know.
you this man who built success through passion, valor, and hard work. He stands in stark contrast to this. You'll see Kate stand next week and lie to you over and over again, trying to destroy Rocky for his own financial gain. He's a parasite who wants you to help him get his pick. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of this case, after all you've seen and heard. All the evidence and cross-examination, all the things I promised you today. I would ask at your hands for a verdict of not guilty for Rakim Mayers. It's the only verdict consistent with justice. It is the only verdict consistent with fairness. Thank you.
All right, folks, I want to take a 10-minute break, and I want counsel to remain in place. Folks, please be outside the courtroom doors at 10 minutes before. Please don't discuss the case.
All right, chat. So far, I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, this is pretty good stuff from the defense. That wasn't a, that didn't like, that was long, but it didn't feel long. And that's one of those things where, like, when you're the defense and you can, you know, or the prosecution, and you give a long argument, but it doesn't feel long, that's when you know it's good. And here, I think this is an example of it. This was very good. He answered a lot of questions. You know, the jury had a bunch of questions and he answered them very well. So I thought that was a very good job by the defense. They did a better job in the state. Now, remember though, Rocky's he's kind of behind the 8 ball to start with, but we'll see. Right now, it's kind of up in the air. But we'll see how this is looking for everybody in a second. All right. So we're going to, let's see here.
During opening statements, no matter who's making the
Okay. Oh, so the judge is going to start whooping some ass here. Here we go. Here we go.
If you make an objection, I know why. So just state the objection, state the legal grounds, but don't explain to me why. Everybody on the same page?
He's saying no talking objections. Just state the grounds, not what behind it.
What? Does it relate to his opening statement?
It does. My co-counsel he gave a legal opening statement. He didn't argue. He didn't bring up areas that are outside of the supposed to discuss. And he basically gave an argument charge. I know it, the court knows it, he knows it. The problem is, I don't think he cares, because basically, he just talks about whatever he wants to talk about.
Don't make aspersions.
I'm not making a aspersion. I watched he continued to argue one after one. I just want to make sure there were several things that he said about what the evidence didn't show. So, for instance, he testified how bullets capture prints, and there should have been bullets on that gun. Well, as far as I know,
you need prints.
Prints on the cases, prints on the bullets. They're not dead bullets on those cases. That's why that. He repeatedly called the victim in this case, quote, a proven criminal and perjurer. And here's the problem. Last time I checked, as he made a motion as to what, if any, conduct the court is going to allow. It's absolutely improper. Had a prosecutor done that, can you imagine, just imagine for a moment, if he had gotten up and made aspersions about what happened to, for instance, the defendant in Sweden without having brought it up to the court's attention. I counted 10 different times when he called the victim a perjurer. At least 5 times when he talked about how he was a proven criminal. Unless I missed it, Your Honor, where did he get the court's permission to be able to introduce that evidence? The court members, I said yesterday to counsel in the court, all that I ask is if there's an area that you're going into that is not absolutely clear, you approach and you make sure you can do it. So, Your Honor, it's not just a disrespect to me, to my co-counsel, it's a disrespect to the court, because he has basically decided, I'm going to say whatever I want about the victim, and I don't care whether it's going to be allowed by the court. And the problem is,
I see your point.
Okay.
Why are you telling me?
Well, Your Honor, I objected.
I like how the judge's like, I see your point. Why the fuck are you even bother telling me? I'm the court. If I feel like he's taking advantage of me, I'll say something. Judge is like, what the fuck? Why are you bitching about this?
Why am I telling you this now? Very simply. I objected during his opening. Right. The court's position, it's clear to me, the court understands that much of what he said was objectionable. The court said, I'm not going to stop somebody on opening.
I'm reluctant to grant objections during opening statements, no matter who's making the opening statement, whether it's the people or the defense.
So what I'm requesting is I want the court to instruct this jury specifically, and very simply, defense counsel made certain allegations. He called the victim in this case a criminal and a perjurer.
I know, I'm not going to do that. What I will remind them is nothing that you say or any of the lawyers say is evidence. That is what I'm willing to remind them of that. And that's the end of the issue now. Once the witness is testified, if you think that there's an objectionable question, object, and if you're right, I'll sustain the objection in a hot second.
Understood, Your Honor.
Right, take a break. No response to that, sir.
Okay, all right.
Judge, and see, this is the judge not saying they don't deserve one. He's like, look, I'm on your side. Just shut up. We're moving along. He's like, everybody get the hell out of the courtroom for a minute. That's what the judge just did there. So they're pausing along. We're going to skip ahead here, chat. So here we go.
If that fly manages to cross.
What?
If that fly manages to cross near me, do I have permission to remove him from the premises?
There's a fly?
There's a fly that's buzzing right over me.
Buzzing.
Okay, that is kind of funny. Like, can I swat? Okay, bit of a hard charge joke there.
Around you or?
Whoa.
Watch out. Yeah, he's been all over here. So he's asking for if I have a shot and am I permitted to?
What do you plan on taking the shot at him with?
I'm using you.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
All right, thank you.
The first witness.
My first witness is Sergeant Thomas.
Okay, that was a bit funny. The defense attorney goes, whoa. I get it. That was funny.
Raise your right hand, please. Thank you. You solemnly state that the testimony you may give in the cause not pending before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. Please take a seat. Witness stand there. And please, thank you for adjusting the microphone and state and spell your name.
Go ahead.
First name is Thomas, Thomas. Last name is Zizzo, Zizzo.
Thank you.
All right. There's no one. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. So we start out by telling the jury who you work for.
Sure, I work for the City of Los Angeles Police Department.
And within the LAPD, what's your current rank?
I'm a sergeant.
Do you have a particular assignment within LAPD?
I do. I'm assigned to Southeast Area Patrol in the City of Watts, well, part of the City of St. Watts, and I work patrol there.
And prior to your assignment patrol in Southeast, were you assigned to a different station?
Yes, I was assigned to Hollywood area also in patrol.
You keep using the word patrol. Can you explain to the jurors what it means to be assigned to patrol within LAPD?
Sure. Well,
That's how their like their uniforms are kind of supposed to be, kind of tight like that. That's the LAPD's thing. So it's not really abnormal. Like these are his fancier uniform, but yeah, this is normal for the LAPD. So, and also he worked in the Hollywood division. That's kind of like the fancy one. So he was pretty good if he got assigned there.
well, patrol is the very basic function of law enforcement. If anybody were to call the police during an emergency, uniformed officers such as myself, as I'm in uniform now, would respond and we would either handle the emergency or respond to the emergency.
Drive around in a typical LAPD black and white patrol car?
Correct. Marked vehicle, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you working on Saturday night, November 6th, 2021, between 10 and 10:30 in the evening?
That was.
In the Hollywood division, are Saturday nights generally busier for law enforcement?
Yes, they are.
That night at around 10:20 p.m., did you respond to a 911 call?
I did.
Just so that the jury is clear, when you respond to a 911 call, can you explain to them exactly how it is you receive information from someone who would say call 911?
Sure. So it starts with the person calling for police service. It could be anybody. They call 911 for an emergency. It goes to a person who takes the call, receives the information from the caller, and then they pass that information on to a dispatcher who directly communicates with us. And then we get that information from them.
So when you're out in the field and you're receiving, when you receive that information, do you receive that over your radio?
I do, yes.
When you're receiving information through the radio from a 911 call, is that really just a summary of the 911 call?
Right. That's correct.
Okay. That night, November 6, 2021, do you recall the general area that you responded to at around 10:20?
I do. Selma Avenue, Argyle Avenue, that intersection, and also Selma and El Central. They're separated by 1 block from each other.
Wait, you said Selma and Argyle and what?
And Selma and El Central?
Elson.
Yes, sir.
You're going to ask Mark, my first exhibit, 1-page document with a map. It may be marked equals 1.
Does the defense have this?
I just wait for the exhibits from Mr. Chappie.
All right, that's people's one for identification.
Yes, and if I can, Your Honor, I'll mark people's 2 at the same time. It's a satellite view photograph from Google of the same area generally depicted in people's 1. Okay. Sergeant, I'm showing you what I just marked as people's 1. I'm going to start broadly with, do you recognize the general area that is depicted in that map?
I do.
Now, you said that you responded to Selma and Argyle, correct?
That's correct.
Do you see where that's depicted on this map?
I do.
Can you point that out?
Sure. This intersection here.
There's a pointer there somewhere. You can use that.
This intersection here. Selma being east-west, Argyle being north-south.
Does the court need to describe any further? Thank you. And you said you responded to Selma and El Centro, correct?
Correct.
Now, I just want to point out for the record that on People's One, there is an icon of a firearm just meant for representative purposes, not displaying anything specific. Okay. Showing you People's Two, does this appear to be the same? Does this appear to depict the same area that you just went over, Selma and Argyle and El Centro and Selma?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to stick with People's One. If you recall, what was the nature of the call that you initially responded to at that location?
It came out as a possible shooting had occurred.
Did it give any details about a particular area?
It indicated Selma and Argyle.
How familiar were you with
The
that
LAPD
area
is
of
actually
Selma
big
and
on their
Argyle?
standards.
Oh, very familiar. I worked probably with several years prior to that date.
And I'd like to ask, but I should. How long have you worked for the LAPD?
It'll be 11 years this March.
And do you recall how long you were at Hollywood? Did you just say?
About 8 years.
8 years. Okay. If you recall, what were some of the buildings or businesses that were at that intersection of Argyle and Selma?
Sure. So, at the northeast corner here, there's a hotel, a recording studio, and a nightclub here in the Argyle. And across from that on the west side is an MTA bus depot turnaround, where MTA employees take their buses in and conduct their business. On the southwest corner here of Selma and Argyle is all residential. And then southeast corner here of Selma and Argyle, this is developing residential at the time, I believe.
Okay. Stick with the building where you described the bus terminal was. If you remember or recall, was there also residences above the bus depot?
That's correct.
And when you say residential, would that be like an apartment building?
Yes.
All right. And the southwest corner, that building that you described as residential, would that also been an apartment building?
Yes.
The uniform that you're currently wearing, it appears you're equipped with something almost dead center in the middle of your chest. Can you describe what that object is for the jury?
This is a body-worn camera.
And were you wearing a body-worn camera that day, November 6, 2021?
Yes, it was.
How does that camera operate?
So it's always in what we call standby mode. So it's not actively recording, but it's recording 2 minutes of film, no audio, just film only. And at the time you activate it through this button here, this circle, it'll capture the last 2 minutes of audio, of video only, no audio, but the audio starts when you activate it. So you have a 2 minute, what we call buffer of video leading up to that activation where it's now both audio and video. So we activate that when we have public contact to capture the encounter or the incident. When we're responding to emergency calls, lights and sirens, we have it on before we even meet with anybody to document the response there. And then when the contact is over with and it's no longer needed, we just power it down by activating the same button.
Okay. Say you're working a typical shift, you record video on your camera, your shift is over. What do you do with the camera at the end of the day?
So at the end of the day, we have docking systems mounted in the hallway, and we mount these at the bottom. There's a connector where it charges the camera, and it also takes the video recorded from the camera and uploads it into our storage cloud, if you will, so it can be accessed later.
Are you able to access your videos later?
I am, yes.
Now, in anticipation of your testimony today, did you go back and re-watch your video from what would almost be almost 4 years ago?
Yes, I did.
That day, November 6, 2021, you said you were wearing a camera, but did you activate your camera in response to this specific call?
Yes, I did.
All right, Your Honor, I'd ask Mark. My next exhibit, which is a DVD, has one video file that can be marked as People's 3. And the video file that is on the DVD has an accompanying audio. It could be marked as People's 4.
You have the transcript?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
People's 4.
I don't know what I said.
You have transcripts for everybody?
I do.
Alex, could you distribute the?
We have a second. Each other.
To talk with each other?
Yeah,
Sure.
I don't know, chat. It froze up there, so hold on. We're gonna give it a second to catch up. Don't know what this is. He's got that lazy shit. Oh no! Yeah, they lost for a second. It comes back. Hold on. There we go. We're back.
Alex, could you distribute the transcripts to everybody? Does anybody at the table see the transcript? Almost everybody have the transcript? Missing one? All right, everybody has one, all 16 jurors? All right.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Sergeant, I have the video, the full video that's on the.
Here we go,
the,
chat. Now we're gonna
on my
get some
computer.
stuff.
And I have it paused at 2 seconds on the video player. I know it's kind of a.
Good night, Tenok. Take care, man.
Image, but if you can, do you recognize this to be your body-worn video captured that night?
Yes.
Okay.
For the record, that's P3.
Yes. Correct.
All right, I'm gonna actually play the video all the way through, and then I'm gonna ask you some follow-up questions based on the video. Okay. So starting at 2 seconds.
I still don't understand why Law and Crime can't fucking silence the fucking tapping. It's got to be somebody in the reporter pool just fucking hammering away. It is so that drives me up the walls.
Yeah, there's only one call, Tim. Oh, just for one to go to Chicago. 1606 Argyle. Also, 13 alive on the lower white shirt, red shorts, 17 off by pouring fire down on people. None of the victims down, so they're going to scene on Selma towards El Centro. Okay, 14
Sorry, guys, I'll turn it down. I had turned down on my end. Sorry. One thing I will point out is that, you know, Relli, I'm sure that they're going to bring this up when Relli testifies, but it's like, you didn't even stick around for the cops, you little bitch. So, it'll be interesting.
I've seen a black man on the white shirt, red shorts, number 2 wearing all black clothing. White shirt, red pants?
Use 30 to send me the check.
16
Right back. I'm gonna pay the water bill.
Project, Terell, 150-61, someone up in here.
Hey, some people are calling saying that there was a shooting over here at this corner. Did you hear any gunshots? You see, Roger, I'm meeting with an MTA employee now at Selma, Oregon, northwest corner. He's advising you hear 2 shots in the area in the direction of this is Elmar and Selma. So, yeah. Okay, cool. Did you hear any arguing or tire screeching or peeling out, anything like that? Okay, just 2 pops?
Yeah, there's 2 pops, you know, clear like that, so that's it. I said, oh, that's all right. Shot. Yeah. It could have been that shot, but it didn't sound
Okay, cool. Well, thanks. He heard 2, possibly could have been gunshots in that direction, which is why this is Delmar. And didn't hear any arguing or fighting leading up to that. No tire screeching, anything. And
Now, guys, while they're showing all this stuff, to show you how serious the police thought everything was, and show you kind of like the gravity of the situation and how serious it's meant to give the jury paint the light and some context here. Peter, hi, how you doing? He's saying, hope fine. I hope, yeah, we're doing great. I was watching a live stream about the January 6th prisoners. Wondered for God-fearing people when it ended, this started. Yeah, so my name's Sean, also known as Potentially Criminal. I'm an attorney over in Ohio, and we're covering the trial APRocky. So the story is him and a fellow rapper had a fight. Rapper A claims that Rocky pulled out a gun, and this is Rocky. Pulled out a gun and shot at him. Rocky's claiming I didn't do that. He's like, I had a blank firing gun. And the issue is whether or not it was a gun. Because if he's convicted, he's facing 25 years in prison. So that's kind of what we're doing here. And yeah, we do some January 6th stuff, talked about that. We talked about the January 6th pardons and how the governments reacted to them and all that previously. So hope you subscribe and stick around. We do stuff pretty much every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then on the weekends we cover some other things that are going on. So hope you stick around. Thanks for being here. So let's go.
You know, someone of this is Elmar. This is Elmar's that weird street that snakes around behind that club, maybe over there. Yeah.
You sure you haven't called us in as well? This is you exciting? This is the other one. This is awesome. You ready to shoot him? I saw 4 dudes. Now, like 10 minutes ago, that's all I saw this me. You know what he's wearing?
Okay, now that we watched the entire video all the way through, do you recognize, is that an accurate depiction of your activities that night?
Yes, it is.
Near the beginning of the transcript on page 2. And if you need me to go back to the video to refresh me, just let me know. But at the beginning of the transcript on page 2, around line 7, and then continuing to line 9, you say, I think you're talking to a fellow officer, nothing, huh? Followed by, yeah, it was only one call too. What were you referencing in making those statements?
So I was asking another officer who, I don't remember it being so long ago, but if they had seen anything, they hadn't. And then the comment about one call, well, when there's a shooting, especially in a densely populated area, you get more than one person calling. And that's always an indication that you more than likely have a legitimate shooting, because when you get one call, and I dealt with this as recent as of yesterday, and I've been dealing with my whole career, we have people that suffer from mental illness that live in the city, and it's very real for them, and they'll call and say that they heard or saw something, and a lot of times it's a shooting. So one call will come out because it's not actually a real shooting, but to them it is, so they call, and we keep track of those incidences, and we find out later on who keeps making those same calls. So when we have one call, especially in a densely populated area, it could be somebody suffering from a mental illness, or it could be a prank call, because we do deal with that, false reports of emergencies. When we have a legitimate shooting, and typically you'll have multiple radio calls, multiple people calling in, because you hear the shots, you see the shooting, there's witnesses, right? And then when you get there, you have people coming out, leaning out of the windows, pointing, that sort of thing.
So when you say to the fellow officer, yeah, it was only one call, or words to that effect, are you essentially communicating right off the bat, I'm not so sure if this is going to be a real shooting call?
Right, that's correct.
Okay. Shortly after that, there's a paragraph between 10 and 14 that starts with all units, shooting just occurred. Can you describe for the jurors what that language is, or where that's coming from?
Sure, so this is actually the second radio call that came out. So the first call prompted our response there, and while we are there, this line here, 10 to 14, is an additional radio call. So now it's 2 radio calls. And so those comments there give a suspect description, a location of a shooting that occurred, clothing description of the suspects, a description of what happened. He fired into an unknown vehicle, unknown victims down, and then last direction of travel there, the last sentence, last seen on Selma towards El Centro.
Would it be fair to say that the first call that came in was not captured on your body-worn camera because of the buffering that you were talking about?
Correct. That call came out before I initiated my code 3 response. You actually see me writing parking tickets. It came out while I was doing that prior to me activating.
When you say code 3 response, what does that mean?
Right, sorry. So code 3 is a designation that we use to denote that we're responding lights and sirens. We call that our code 3 equipment. So.
Okay. Now, you said that second call comes out with information that there are potential suspects on Selma towards El Centro, and it gives a description of the clothing of the suspects, correct?
Correct.
if you need me to go back to the video, I will, but do you recall from watching the video where you were when you received that radio transmission?
I believe I was actually at the intersection of Sunset and El Centro. I'm sorry, Selma and El Centro.
So you're at the location where the call is saying the suspects are, correct?
Correct.
So what did you do?
Continued to look out the window and canvas and see if there were those anybody matching that description of those suspects present.
Is it fair to say you did not see anyone match that description?
No, I did not. Yeah.
Okay. I believe on the recording you say, I'm code 6 at Selma and El Centro. Can you just explain what code 6 means?
Sure. We use these codes for brevity and clarity. It just means this is where I am. So if I say I'm code 6 at Selma and El Centro, this just means I'm there present at Selma and El Centro. So they know where I am, right? There's officer safety reasons and then letting everybody know that I'm there.
Okay. So take me back to that night. You received first call, Selma and Argyle. Second call, Selma and El Centro. You happen to be there when you received the second call. You've not seen what is supposed to be described there. First, do you, based on your long work in patrol, do you have any reason why it's possible that that information would come out that those people wouldn't actually be there at that time?
Maybe a delay in reporting.
Okay. So it's possible they were there earlier, and as it gets filtered through the multiple people to get to you, it's just not there at that time.
Correct.
And then you, as you're at that intersection, Selma and El Centro, you're not seeing these people. What do you do after that?
Well, that was when I approached the MTA employee who was seated in his bus, the MTA lot.
And what's the point of approaching the MTA employee?
Well, when we get to something as a report of a shooting, we have to do everything we can to determine what happened, if anything, right? When we get there, we have to, we work with what we got, not with what we like, but we work with what we got. So if there's anybody in the area, I'd make it a point, obviously, to go talk to them. Hey, did you hear anything? Did you see anything? There's some people who are reluctant to call the police, but if they're approached when you get there, they may actually provide you some information to work with.
Okay. Is it fair to say at that point you were having trouble determining if a crime had even occurred?
That's correct.
After speaking with the MTA employee, he directed you generally to the area of Vista Del Mar and Selma, correct?
Correct.
And Vista Del Mar is that small street between El Centro and Argyle?
Correct, this one here.
Okay. But is it fair to say that even the MTA employee told you he wasn't sure if it was gunshots? He said possible.
Right, and we all heard that on the video. He said maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Could have been something to that effect.
Okay. At around that point in the transcript, page 4, around line 14, you're told through the radio, quote, the PR from incident 4245 does not wish to meet. Can you explain what that means in layman's terms?
Sure, so prior to this, I had actually, and we saw that on the video, I had asked if the PR, which stands for person reported, that could be anybody who calls 911, that's how we refer to the person reported. I asked if they would like to meet. I do this on almost every call because it makes sense to just meet with the person who saw what they saw and decided to call the police. So that's what I was doing there. Incident 4245 is just the last word of the incident number, which is unique to each call, so we can differentiate one call from the other.
Were you hoping to receive additional information from the reporting person? Was that your purpose in trying to meet them?
Correct, yes.
And when you're told that that person does not want to meet with you, how does that affect your investigation?
Well, it's tough. I mean, I know there's a big expectation on us when we arrive to just figure it out on our own, but the reality is we need the public's help. We need to meet with people who saw what happened and determine they needed to call the police. There are witnesses, there are best means of investigation for sure.
Okay. When you approach the intersection of Vista Del Mar and Selma, so now we're about right where this icon is, where did you go?
So we went to the, as was indicated in the comments of the call, the parking lot next to the stop sign is how it was described. And that was the information we had to work off of. And right here is a stop sign controlling traffic east and west on Selma. And there is a parking lot there, which we saw in the video. So
I'm going to stop you, sorry,
sure.
because when you say right here, we have to identify where you're
Okay.
pointing. So my recollection, you said right here, and correct me if I'm wrong, was sort of maybe just above where the icon is, the gun icon?
Correct, northwest corner of Vista Del Mar and some of that parking lot there.
Okay, and I'm actually gonna switch over to People's 2, this photograph. I'm gonna zoom in where the same icon is, just to orient us. Would that be that same corner that you're talking about? I know Vista Del Mar is not labeled, but is that Vista Del Mar?
Correct, it would be this parking lot
Okay,
on the northwest corner.
and if it's easier for you to describe where you went on the photograph, would you do that? If you want me to flip back to the map, People's 1, just let me know.
So this is fine.
So where did you go after you got to the intersection?
So when I got here to the northwest corner, I exited my vehicle and walked the actual parking lot on the northwest corner.
So are you saying you stopped your patrol car right at that corner?
No, I would say just north of mid-block.
Okay. Is there any point or reference you can point to on here where your car was stopped?
So on this map, I think a good approximate would be right above the N here on this Hollywood Levon on the map.
Okay. And so you drove your patrol car up the street and parked it there, correct?
Correct.
Where did you go after you got out of your car?
To the parking lot here in the northwest corner of Selma northbound.
On the video, we saw you and your partners interacting with someone holding a skateboard after you got out of your car. To your knowledge, did that person provide any details about the crime?
No, we didn't receive any information to work with from him.
Okay. On the video, we saw you walking through the parking lot. What was your point in walking through the parking lot?
Well, the comments of the call updated and again directed us to that lot next to the stop sign as it's described. At that point, we're looking for evidence of a shooting. In that specific scenario, vehicles with windshields and windows that are destroyed, flat tires on vehicles, damage to vehicles, impacts from firearms.
Did you see any of that?
We did not know.
Okay. Did you find any victims in the parking lot?
No.
Would you describe the parking lot as nearly full of cars?
Yes.
Towards the end of your video clip, we heard you and your partner addressing someone who was off camera. Do you recall that?
Yes.
If you can describe that person at all, who was that?
Can't recall what he looked like, but I believe he was a resident or somebody that was occupying that apartment there above the parking lot. And I can't recall, but from watching the video, he said he saw 2 guys, and then the rest you can't hear on video. But I do remember independently that he also didn't provide anything. He just didn't have anything to provide us that we can work with in terms of investigation.
So you talked to the MTA employee, you talked to a skateboarder, you talked to a resident at a building there. Fair to say none of them provided you details about this work.
Correct.
At that point, did you know where, if at all, the shooting had occurred?
No.
How would you categorize the search that you and your partners did of the street of Vista Del Mar, just north of Selma?
Categorize or
Yeah, how would
characterize?
you characterize?
I would say typical of responding to a shooting call. We're looking for victims that are down. We're looking for witnesses who can direct us to suspects or victims who are down. We're looking for damage to vehicles or buildings, impacts, right, from gunfire. Those sorts of things.
Would you say that you and your partners searched every inch of that street?
We didn't search every inch of that street. No.
Okay.
Can't say that.
As you sit here, can you say to a certainty that there was not a fired cartridge case in that street on Vista Del Mar?
I can't say that I may have missed something. It's possible.
Okay. The last exhibit I have for Your Honor, that's Democracy Case 5. Is it reasonable, in your opinion, to believe that if there was a expended cartridge casing in that street, that you may have missed it?
Yes.
What is it, People's 5?
People's 5 is another map, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
Is it a map or is it an aerial photograph?
It's a map. And it has
objection to that last question.
Can we have the grounds with the objection?
Sure.
Read the question back, please.
That's speculation.
Is it reasonable, in your opinion, to believe that there was an expended cartridge casing in that street that you may have missed it?
Say. That's raised.
in your experience working patrol, is it reasonable that sometimes you will respond to a shooting and miss certain evidence such as fired cartridge case?
That's correct.
And if you miss a fired cartridge case, how is it that you could say, yeah, on that instance, I missed that piece of evidence or something like that?
You mean, how would I find out later?
Yes.
A couple ways. I mean, somebody finds it the next day when the lights up and they see it, and they call the police and say, hey, this doesn't look right. That's one way.
Has that happened in your career?
I have heard of that happening. It hasn't happened to me.
Is it typical that after a case is investigated by a patrol officer, it's passed on to a detective?
Yes.
And have you heard of occasions where the detectives will go back and search an area and find something that patrol officers missed?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Now we People's 5, the map, and it's annotated with 4 different colored arrows. If I may.
Yes.
Sergeant, the area of People's 5 here, you've already described this to be that area that responded to that night, correct?
Correct.
Would you agree that the arrows generally reflect the path that you took as you were driving around in your patrol car as we watched it on the body of the video?
Yes.
So you started down here where the number 1 is, headed north on El Centro, made a left turn on Selma, then come south on Argyle, and made a right turn on Sunset?
Right, westbound turn on Sunset, yes.
Okay. And when you were on Sunset, did you make a U-turn and then head back up Argyle?
Correct.
Did you cross Selma and go into the bus depot on the corner of Argyle and Selma?
Correct.
And then did you come out and go to Vista Del Mar and then go north on Vista Del Mar?
Correct.
And would the yellow generally reflect it's free running seat, but would that generally reflect where you walked through the parking lot?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any further questions.
Let me see if the sidebar not on the record, please.
All right, Chet, there's a sidebar here. Let's move along. Let's move along here.
Or you are, yeah, I'm saying, I might be a few minutes short for, but we'll get the world here. Hey, Sergeant, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Several things. This whole line of questioning about, the possibility that you may have missed something, remember that line of questioning the prosecutor said about?
Yes, sir.
You're not training to miss something, you're training to find it, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, when you say you may have missed something, there were 7 of you guys responding officers at the scene, correct?
Did you say 7?
Yeah.
I don't think it was 7, but
Really? Okay, how many do you think there were?
I think 3 total.
Oh, no. Did you see the video?
I did. I only saw 2 others, including myself. That's 3.
How about Brian, you did, you know?
He did. Kijevix, yes.
Was he there?
I believe so, yes.
How about John Cook?
Yes.
Ralph Sweeney?
Don't recall.
Okay. Steve Wilson?
Also same.
Rakim Martinez?
Same.
How about Adrian Rodriguez?
Don't remember seeing him.
And Jose Anila?
Quintanilla? No, sir.
You don't remember seeing him either?
No.
So, anyway, there is camera footage of other officers, not just yours, right?
Correct, yeah.
Anyway, long story short, you don't know if you missed something, right?
I don't think anybody would know if they missed something, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What was the first time you discussed the possibility that maybe you missed something with the prosecutors? What was the first time you discussed that?
I mean, today we reviewed stuff, right?
I don't know. I wasn't there today.
Correct.
It was the first time you discussed maybe I missed something.
Yeah.
When did this happen?
This was in 2021.
And what's it now?
This is 2025.
Okay. So, for the first time since 2021, today is the first time we discussed with the prosecutors, oh, I may have missed something.
Correct.
And the first time you met with them, anyone in this case was on Wednesday, right?
No, today is the first time I met with them. Spoke with them on the phone
On Wednesday.
Wednesday, I believe. about scheduling and about appearing
Okay.
to court.
So today's the first time you met with him,
Not with them in person, yes.
and the first time you discussed testimony was today?
Yes.
You didn't discuss.
Really? You're fucking trial prep for a case like this, and you just like, it's not like you know where he works, and if you tell him to show up, he will show up or he'll get disciplined for it. It's not like some random jerk-off witness, guys. God damn. Holy shit, prosecutor's office. Ugh. Oh. Hold on here. Yeah. Am I gonna move that email? Move that email. Wow, that's fucking chat. Why did that come up there?
No, we discussed scheduling and what the case was about. That's it.
You take your duty seriously. By the way, let me stop for a second. You were asked what you were looking for hypothetically when you arrived at the scene of a culprit shooting. Recall that?
Yes.
And you said victims. Yes.
Yes.
Damage to property. Correct.
Correct.
What about shell casings? So you look at that too?
Sure.
Because you mentioned that. That would be something, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you take your duties as a law enforcement officer seriously, Sergeant?
I do.
And because of that, you make your best effort to perform your duties to the best of your ability. Right. And you do, in fact, the best to perform your police functions carefully.
Yes.
And you're a sergeant, right?
Yes.
I mean, for a distinguished position, yeah.
Thank
you. Look. And you pay attention to detail, don't you?
Yes.
I mean, you get called to a shooting scene. You guys have flashlights too, right?
Correct.
Searchlights. You know what you're looking for, right?
Correct.
On November 6, 2021 at 10:27 p.m., you had received a report of shots fired, right?
Correct.
And you responded to the area of Selma and East Selma.
Correct.
And you were wearing your body camera, I think that was that, right?
Yes, sir.
You reported that.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, fellow officers reported video as well.
Correct.
And you, in turn, reported your fellow officers' activity.
Right.
You exited your car around 10:31.
Can't independently recall, but if it shows that on the timestamp, that timestamp's accurate. There's no reason to believe it's not.
Right, now that's accurate.
Correct.
Okay. And your car was parked next to that parking lot on East Delmar?
Yes.
And after exiting your car, you walked southbound on East Delmar?
Correct.
Towards the stop sign on the corner there, right?
Yes.
Oh, yes. And then you walked into that parking lot with all those cars, right?
Yes, sir.
By the way, there's no damage to any of those cars there, right?
Not that we saw, no.
You were looking, right? You guys are looking?
Yes, sir.
And once you were in the parking lot, according to your body camera, you walked from one end of it to the other.
Correct.
As you did that, you had your flashlight on.
Sure.
And you saw from your body camera footage, other officers had their flashlight on.
Correct.
Now, at one point from your body camera footage, you were looking at the windshield of the vehicle with your flashlight, right?
The rear windshield on the red car?
Yeah.
Yes.
You were searching for signs of shooting, right?
Correct.
You didn't find any broken glass?
No.
No damage scars?
No.
No bullet holes?
No.
You established no shell casings?
Correct.
No blood?
Correct.
In fact, you didn't find any signs of shooting, right?
Correct.
Now, you said there have been times you responded to a reported shooting only to find that the person who made the call intentionally lied about it, right?
Right, like the false report of emergency or
Yeah.
somebody suffered from an illness.
Yes.
Right.
So that would be intentional lying, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you'd agree that if someone misreports a shooting that never really happened, you wouldn't expect to find any evidence of it when you get there, right?
Right.
Now, your own body cam footage ended at 22:33:16, meaning 10:33 and 16 seconds, right?
Okay.
But you still remained on the scene after that was turned off, right?
Well, I can't remember, but if I'm turning it off, it's because I've concluded what I need to do, and then I'm leaving.
Well, after searching the parking lot, you searched the street as well.
Are you saying after I went into the parking lot, I exited?
Exactly.
I don't remember if I did. No one off my body more.
Okay, well, I'm gonna help refresh your recollection. Okay. Who was that officer with that name that I mispronounced? Brian?
You
You did, okay.
Kijevix? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Kijevix.
Call him Brian.
There's a J, a B, and an X all in there?
Right, yeah.
Okay. So, Brian,
Right.
Also,
Yes.
I want to show you the body cam footage that's been marked as defense exhibit A, for identification.
Is there audio?
Yes,
Do you have transcript?
we don't need, this is not the sound, we don't need the audio part portion, it's just the visual.
What? Defense A. Thank you.
Now, directing you to 22:35:50, 20 seconds into this video. Hold on 1 second. Is that it? Is it? Yeah. So that's 22:35:50, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that's what it is.
10:35 p.m.
Thank you. 20 seconds into the video. Do you recognize yourself on?
I do.
Okay. So you did go to the street after parking, right?
Yes.
And at that point, your body camera is off.
I can't remember if it's on or off. There's an additional video you want me to watch, but again, this was 4 years ago.
No, I understand. That's what you spoke about for the first time today with the prosecutor, right?
Correct.
All right. Did you see any of your body cam footage today when you spoke about it for the first time, displaying what you're looking at?
My own video?
Yeah.
Yes.
Showing that part?
No, not this.
Right. I know you saw your video from before that we all saw, right? But you don't see any of your body cam footage showing this, right?
No.
Okay. But that is you, right?
It is, yes.
And that video truly and accurately reflects your activities during the search of the scene on November 6, 2021, correct?
Correct.
Where I off as offense today.
You already have marked.
Offering
I'm sorry,
evidence, I identified it, not offering it. Offering the evidence.
It's evidence?
Yes, sir.
Evidence would not move something into evidence until the cases are closed.
There could be a motion to admit evidence at any time as long as there is a foundation and it's relevant and admissible. Do you have an objection now as to foundation or relevance?
No.
Defense says that.
Now the street shown there, so I'm sure. Oh, you have a little camera screen there.
So this is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, but thank you.
Very small company.
Sure.
Back here.
It's not. Okay. Ding. We'll talk it in.
All right. So we're gonna have to recess now, sir.
Sure.
You're gonna come back on Tuesday.
Okay.
10:30 in the morning.
10:30.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
thanks for coming in today.
All right.
All right, hold on, chat. We need to go back a
We're
second.
gonna have to recess now, sir.
Sure.
You're gonna come back on Tuesday.
Okay.
10:30 in the morning.
10:30.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
thanks for coming in today.
All right.
So Tuesday, 10:30. Jeez. They come in, they start at 10:30 in the morning? I almost wish I could ask Emily Baker. Like, Emily, you guys start at 10:30 in the morning? You guys work banker's hours over there in LA. It's like, that was interesting. Start at 10:30 in the morning. God, this is gonna be like Michelle Trakunis, guys. We're gonna have like really short days of trial, which is great. We could keep up with it because I told you this week I'm gonna be working on trial prep and get ready for a trial on the 10th. So I got court hearings in the week after that. I'm balls deep in a trial prep. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. Kataki saying the prosecutor got burned again. Yeah, it's not really burn. You kind of step on your wiener. That's like a little bit of a problem. It's a little problem. You just look like, you kind of fucked up there. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Like the prosecutors aren't in the back going like, the jury's not total prosecutor death, chat. That's not happening. He just looks goofy there. Did he cross state lines? No. But you notice who's not there? The fucking victim, which is a big deal. Oh, he got shot at, and I just knew right away. Why'd you fucking stick around? It's because there's a lot more to it. So, yeah. So, yeah, guys, that's where we are so far. I assume you guys are not convinced right now because I'm not convinced. So, we'll see. We shall see where this leads us. As King George says in Hamilton, what comes next? Well, now we don't know. So it'll be very interesting to see what we see here. But yeah, all these things that they allege that are happening, like this guy's really claiming, like Relli's really claiming, oh, I'm disabled on my finger. It's like, come on, man. Come on. Yeah, I'm not convinced so far, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. So, yeah, that's it. We are done for the day. Day one in the bucket. Talk about trial prep. No, that's the kind of prep you do. We're not talking about that today. What you and your mom do, what your mom helps you do with your pill combos is not our problem. So with that said, guys, we are wrapped up here. We will continue the saga of APRocky going forward because I do think this is a good trial. And it's like, guys, it's not a murder. Like, that's the cool part about it. It's not a murder. And I think that's really important. So we will continue this as it goes. Looks like there will be a time where it's down. I'm surprised that it's that long, but whatever, we'll take it. Keeps us from having problems going forward. So we're gonna do that, and I'm gonna probably end this now, and we'll get started tomorrow with some other stuff. Emily said the hours of court operation, the 1 hour lunch, is due the union for the note takers. Is Emily covering this too? Is she involved in this thing? Or is she watching this too? I didn't know if she's covering it. But that's interesting. That's the thing here. I don't, that's the one thing I will say about Emily. She got to play in like the big leagues. And, like playing, the LA County District Attorney's Office, like playing for the Yankees. I think she did a great job, and I really would like, that's somebody, I've only talked to her a couple times. I would love to talk to her at some point. But Shinobu's saying,
hey guys, Mr. Popsy here. Don't forget to check
you guys are saying the note makers, the stenographers, court reporters, the court reporters chat. Stump Saku say, do we have to be in Ohio if we wanted to hire you? Well, it depends what you want me to do. It depends what you want me to do. She talked about it in the podcast. Does she have a podcast of her own? She knows this judge. I bet she knows a lot of the judges. This judge sounds like he's been around for 30 years. Yeah, I'm sure she had interactions with him. So, but no, that'd be cool. And Access, hello all, yes. To be fair, what were your Twitter handles that were suspended? They got suspended for apparently Twitter thinks they're like fake accounts. Both LawTube Sean and Potentially Criminal now are both gone, so I'm fucked. I don't know what to do. So I don't know what to do. I'm appealing both, but I'm go on Twitter and raise hell and say this is bullshit. They're both his accounts. Can this be fixed? Like Twitter support, because I've already sent appeals in. So the cop on the stand is the son of Erica Giardi from Real Housewives of LA. Cool. The LAPD. Gandalf says, who is the asshole reporting? Somebody reported me thinking I was a fake because they probably didn't know any better. I don't think it was intentional, but Twitter said they were automatic suspensions. So, you don't have to tag lawyers, Bella. It's more about tagging Twitter, saying, hey, Twitter, what the fuck? Oh, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, not LA? I don't know. There's all kinds of shit out there. Who knows at this point? So there's Real Housewives of LA, Orange County, and Beverly Hills, and all that shit. I don't know. Anyway, it's very interesting. I am not. If this is the best they've got, this is a pretty bad case. This is a pretty bad case, guys. I'm just saying, it's not a good looking case for them. It'll be interesting to see how they do this. It'll be interesting to see what they do here. I don't know how it's going to work. So, Beverly Hills in the greater LA area, it's all the same. LA. How do we know it's you who's not the imposter? Yes, you're pulling a Ralph. It could be you that's the imposter. Anyways, guys, enough with the Twitter drama. We'll work on that. It'll be Monday. Maybe they'll get to it. Maybe they won't. I'll keep you posted here on YouTube in the community notes and over on Locals. So see you guys there. In the meantime, chat, remember, as always, just because you did it does not mean you're guilty. And right now, it looks like Rocky may have done something, but he's not guilty of it. So we're going to take a look. Are we streaming Tuesday? Yes, but it'll be late. We'll be catching up. And then Wednesday, I don't know if I'm going to go live with it because I'll be doing it later. But I believe Kash Patel's hearings start Wednesday. If they do, I would like to cover that. So that'll be pretty good. Cash Patel dealing with the FBI. So Chinny says, I could not have watched this if not for you. Well, I'm glad. I appreciate that. So yeah, guys, once again, it's a non-murder trial. I think that's what's cool. We need more of those. Somebody's chat, yeah. You know, Rocky. I don't think you're guilty, but I do think you did something. We just don't know what. So, all right, chat. With that said, you guys take it. I'll make sure I got all the comments out of here. Yep, everything's out of there. We're all set. Thank you guys for everything today, and I will see you later. Take care, everybody.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws, tips on hunting, and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops, even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty, but please talk to a local attorney. Was that the fat guy Rick hated yelled at? Why, yes it was, he even knows he's fat. For all this fun and more, there's one place to go, here on Sean Martin's Potential